Well, hello everybody. Happy Wednesday. Man, it's already felt like a weird week for me because I was out of state until Monday, so feels like a very weird time for me. Like it feels kind of like it's Tuesday, but it also feels like it's Friday. It's kind of weird. How's everybody doing tonight? Hello, X Dude. Welcome to the stream. It's gonna be, well, I hope it's an interesting stream. It's hard to tell with visual novels. Sometimes they start slow, and sometimes they get exciting quickly. Hopefully, if this one picks up the pace a little bit. We only have played a short bit, but we only had one person's sprite, and it's just a lot of talking and police lingo. So hopefully, things will get a bit more exciting going forward. So let's boot up the game. The 07th expansion. Also, weather over here in my state has been flip-flopping. When I came back to Michigan, it was like in the 70s, and then yesterday it was like in the 40s, and now today it's in the 70s again. So it just keeps flip-flopping. Don't know what that's all about, but anyways, welcome back to Higurashi Chapter 4. So, we're playing as a completely new guy, Akasaka, the police detective, and he's kind of investigating uh, Hinamizawa and kind of learn the backstory from Uishi. They're trying to figure out if they're responsible for kidnapping the minister's son. Anyways, yeah, we're continuing. End of chapter 1. I'm assuming there are 8 chapters because there are 8 achievements. Possibly less than that because there's also probably the end party. Anyhow, we're continuing. Alright. Oh, that looks like every hotel room I've pretty much ever been in. Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remember even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quickly, counting out the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Well, thankfully, hotel rooms are generally a bit nicer than camping in a tent in the woods where there may or may not be bears around. Hey, DX, welcome to the stream. I'm hoping we get some Rika today, since her picture is on the cover of the game. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particular type of homesickness? Yeah, it's still ridiculous that he's just like, I guess I'm not here for my kid's birth because police needs me. As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. Hey, props to the continental breakfast. Sometimes Fruit Loops just get the job done, you know? The meeting with the informant that Uisi had provided would be tonight. That's right, we totally just abused government authority and gave him taxpayer money for the informant, even though he's like, yes, now I can pay off my gambling debts. Like, we are definitely corrupt, which is not great, but maybe we'll learn the truth. Maybe we'll get some choices, too. I enabled the choices. Until then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The Onigafuchi Guardians was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorized into 2 major forms, combative and peaceful. In regards to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and the brutality of the riot squads. Oh, wow, why does that sound familiar? The latter, peaceful route, stressed how precious the natural surroundings of Hinamizawa was, seeking people who would oppose the dam on environmental grounds. Why does that also sound familiar? As a part of that, the village of Hinamizawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years, there had been a group calling itself Hinamizawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. Oh, is that how Tomatake kept going here? Because he was there for the summer to take photos of the surroundings, right? Because he's a photographer. I wonder if he was part of that. I would have liked to have taken advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative offices, they said it was too late to apply for the tour, and they were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one.
そう
Rats!
ですか。次回の募集はありませんか。残念です。
あんた、環境保護団体さんですか？
No, I'm very passionate about Higurashi.
それとも雑誌さんの人？
いえ、個人です。
個人？観光ですかね？
観光みたいなものです。美しい自然を写真に残すのが趣味なんで。雑誌でとても貴重な自然が残っていると読んだので、楽しみにしていたのですが。
Oh, okay. I knew there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was it this ad-lib lie? Was it this ad-lib lie not going to work? That is a mistranslation. Why is the it there? Was this ad-lib lie not going to work? However, contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily.
ならあんた、村はちょいと慌ただしいけど、今月ますよ。
Oh, that was slick! Yeah, because they're like, oh my gosh, yes, if you're interested, please come, we want to have you. I don't know, that laughter sounds a little sinister, but that might just be the horror aspects playing into this.
ぜひそうさせていただきます。ありがとうございます。
You better get a camera.
あんた、明日は何ですか？
I walk.
お車？もしそうだったら、先にナンバーを聞いておきますよ。
We want to make sure people don't throw rocks at you coming in.
タイはないんですがね。
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Tomatake probably does the same. That was probably related to the checkpoints they'd set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. I thought about using the car I had borrowed from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them the plate number. If the Onigafuchi Guardians was behind this incident, there was no guarantee that they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car. Probably smart.
いえ、実は車ではないんで
It's
す。
Japan, it's not that unusual.
バスか何かがあれば、それで行きたいのですが。
No buses are going to go into Hinamizawa.
バスならあります
Oh,
よ。
never mind.
もうすぐ廃線になっちまうそうですがね。そんでいらっしゃい。沖宮の駅から出ますよ。
Let's go.
ありがとうございます。探してみることにします。
本当、いつ来ます？南沢さん、初めての土地じゃ、いろいろとご不安でしょう。
You probably heard a lot about the rumors of us throwing rocks at the police.
教えてくれりゃ、誰か行かせていろいろご案内させますよ。
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
そんな、
Someone Sprite.
そこまでしていただくのは
We
申
need
し
the
訳ないで
Sprite.
す。
We need the Sprite. And I mean that in terms of the art and not in terms of the lemon lime soda owned by Coca-Cola. Hey, Proxima, welcome to the stream. Yes, you have not missed very much. We're just, trying to take the bus to Hinamizawa to take some pictures because we are totally tourists and not police officers.
気にせんでください。これも村の自然さ守るための PR なんですから。
Oh, yes, of course. Judging by what I saw at the checkpoint, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out of the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Uishi, or side with the dam protests. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favor. The entire village was fired up about the dam protests, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer.
本当によろしいのでしょうか。でしたら本当に助かります。
After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around to a spot I'd taken interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me to somewhere like an anti-dam information center. Then, over a cup of tea, they'd try to indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. Well, if that was their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world is about give and take, after all. You had a realization Kieichi probably moved here because the Hinamizawa people were trying to get people to come live there. Oh, is that why? I always did wonder why he and his parents just randomly moved to this, very remote, kind of creepy village, at least as far as their lore is concerned. I mean, and apparently they were given, the nicest house in the village outside of maybe Mion's. That was kind of interesting, because, they're like, man, Keiichi, you've got, a huge house. How did they score that? Is his dad just loaded? His dad's an artist, so, I don't know. Maybe he's maybe he's one of the few artists that actually had monetary success in their life. I couldn't be going in a suit. I pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed into something more casual. After that, after calming down by watching some local television, I left the hotel and set out for Okinomiya Station. Come on, give me a Sprite for the tour guide, please. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule, and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okinomiya, the only town in the area. The types of passengers that stood out were older folk that didn't look like they could drive, and housewives that didn't seem like they had a license. If the area was submerged at the bottom of the lake, it wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. You need a submarine route. That's why it was going to be discontinued. It was in the unnatural scheme of things. I could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the village into emptying out sooner. It makes sense. According to the documents, talks between the Ministry of Construction and the locals broke down quite early. The government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveler to remove his cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the Onikafuchi Guardians resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. Yeah, screw the government, man. There was somebody who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem. Yeah? This route will be discontinued at the end of this financial year. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. Okinomiya Transportation. Gazing lazily at the notice of the discontinued service posted inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Dang, we just hit a speed bump. Along the way, we passed through the checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they had opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat.
浮田水道前へ、浮田水道前へ。お降りの方はいらっしゃいませんか？
I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For none of the numerous passengers to be getting off here must mean that it must be quite a remote place. Hinamizawa would be Katrina hurricane levels of bad. Yeah. I mean, putting the entire village underwater is, kind of extreme. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so abnormally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere completely different than the interior of the bus assailed my body. Right now, Uisi, or Hondaya, wasn't beside me. That's right. At present, I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. My adversaries probably thought I was just an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, it brought back the terrifying words I had heard at the prefectural office, that if somebody was attacked in Hinamizawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing was currently casual. It was exactly the type of clothing that a city slicker that viewed the countryside as a wholesome getaway would wear. A camera, and knapsack. Boom, got the camera. Inside were various things needed for hiking. Like protein bars, a pair of boots. It was still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it wasn't something to be that concerned about. It's alright. I was just a normal tourist. The sign said bus stop, by the way. Oh, cool. I do not know a lick of Japanese. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me silently. Well, that's, a little bit disconcerting now, isn't it? They were staring right at me, as if they had seen through my proud little outfit. Just staring, looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows open to the air out the bus. All that rained down were stares. None of them were saying a word. But, all the more, their silent stares told me that more than a million words could. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider. I think you're just being paranoid here, dude. There was no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engine. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. It's not Mion's specific stare, it's just a creepy stare, and honestly I feel like that's a pretty good use of repurposing the stare. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to the documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they would be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at this stop. It was a bus stop that they normally just passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there, there was no doubt that had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at this stop. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous, since this was my first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool. But that wasn't true at all. In order to calm my breathing down, Okay, dude, you took way too long to exhale there. I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. I couldn't help but pray my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as a shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the dam opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I felt an inexplicable pressure. It wasn't like I had any real relation to the dam project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with the force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. Oh? Hey, there she is! It's little Rika! Well, littler than she is normally. Let's go, finally! Inside that shed, covered in words written in broad brushstrokes berating the policies regarding the dam and calling for action, there was a girl, sitting there with a dozy gaze, as if half asleep. She's wearing the same green dress, too. Rika, you can wear more than one type of dress, you know. The two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noises I would accidentally make? I couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid, so why was I so worked up about it? Finally, I realized. This girl, to us as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. Alone, sleeping on a bus stop? Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. They're shy like that. Whether we could tell if they were a boy or a girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we could get an image of their genitalia. There was, of course, no guarantee that it was a girl, but with things the way that they were, the possibility was high. Even so, Yuki had been saying that the chances that it was a boy or a girl were even. But in my heart, I had already decided that our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how our child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one that I thought to be the most ideal had materialized right in front of me. Of course, a little of it was due to the circumstances. In my ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. The girl in front of me, though, had long hair. I liked the long hair. It was almost as if somebody had taken my ideal and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was sullying her just by looking at her like that. No, don't head pat the sleeping girl. That's kind of weird. She had an immaculate, no, a divine air about her. Oh, uh-oh. Is she yawning or is she crying? Or both? Ooh. The girl with an angelic smile, with a yawn wide enough that you could see her molars, woke up all of a sudden. Okay. It was not a crying, it was like, yeah, I've been there, Rika. Long hair is the best. I prefer long hair on girls. I'm traditional and I'm like, guys, short hair, girls, long hair. But, I mean, you know, some people can pull off the long hair. And some people can pull off the short hair. I didn't mean to peep. But locking eyes with a girl who had just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No, cried out?
Me.
Oh, they literally just shrunk her sprite. They literally basically just, shrunk her sprite and then moved her up slightly. Because I remember normally you can't see her legs in this, pose. Actually, wait, hang on. What's the button to change the art? Okay. Alternate voice. Alternate priority? I don't know what that means. Lip sync on. What's the button to change the sprite? Censorship level 3, 4, 5. We were at 2. I didn't even know that was an option. Okay, I like the console art style. Oh, interesting. They didn't even give her a different sprite in here. Okay, let's go. I like the console art style for Rika. Meep? Like that character on the show with the puppets? No, like Phineas and Ferb, alright? With the orange hair? I thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. So in order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind.
Me.
Meep?
Me.
Me! It's all about me! The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression. Cute, but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, who responded with meep when she said the same. Yeah, this could go pretty weird. Suspicious. She definitely thought I was suspicious.
Me?
She is not impressed. She's like, what are you doing? We were both at a loss for words. No, the only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motives, stared at me intently. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had something to say first, or had to say something first. Damn it, this girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Uishi.
怪しいものじゃないんだ。
Me trying to understand Riz. Riz is just an abbreviation for charisma. It's the new generation thing.
私は
I'm not doing anything suspicious. Really? There it is.
ニパ
I see. There it is. What could I have only described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. You might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. No. Okay, that's it. No, alright. I like exploring the different art styles, alright? The girl smiling while saying Nipa probably wanted me to return the favor in kind. That's right. This was a kid's form of communication. Having the other person emulate what you just did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding.
ニパ
It's a little weird. It was a beautiful afternoon in the early summer. What was I doing? That's what I want to know. Please tell me she's going to be the tour guide.
ニパ
Well, whatever. This was interesting in its own way. If making somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, then this girl was definitely one of them. I couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. Bruh, your wife has been in labor for over 24 hours, this poor woman. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to the end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face.
どうも、こんにちは。遅れて申し訳ないことです。
Are you gonna get a Sprite too?
昨日お電話くださった観光の方ですかね。
You bet! That's
あ
me!
はい。
お待たせして申し訳ねえ。いや、野良でちょいと遅れましてね。
Oh, of course.
したらと、お乗りください
A
な。
bunch of weird kids with a bug were exploring my farm. It was weird.
天気もまんた崩れそうだから、ちゃけちゃけご案内しますよ。
天気で
ああ、ここいらは崩れると早いよ。
Oh, that's convenient.
まあ、夕立になるかもな。
Are you gonna give Rika a ride, or is it just like, nah, she's fine?
そうなったら、あんた写真さ撮るところじゃなくなるでしょう。
Well, I mean, evening showers can lead to some pretty awesome pictures, actually.
ほら、
It'll just be
乗って乗って
uncomfortable to be out in the rain. Bye, Rika. Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Her body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming.
あれ、リカちゃまじゃねえですか。
Rika Chama? That is a suffix I have not heard before.
ありがたや、ありがたや。
Okay, she's a kid. She's not God, so. It's basically Connecticut. I'm assuming you mean in terms of the weather, not in terms of worshipping a girl. A girl named Rika with an immaculate smile, and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands. This guy's a freak! He is just, like, praying to her. This is weird. It was a rather mysterious sight to behold. I know she's, like, one of the, like, heirs to the 3 big families, but still, this is a bit excessive. And so the girl turns to face me, tilting her head a little in a cutesy manner. After saying that, the elder introduces me as a tourist who came to sightsee Hinamizawa. A Yunnin, yes, indeed. Alright, Rika, that's a little too close, alright? I'm a guy who values his personal space, okay? So, you know, maybe just, you know, respect the boundaries and back off a little bit. Okay, yeah. The console is the only one that actually gives her unique sprites for being a couple years younger, so good point for the console art style. Chama is a diminutive version of Sama, so it's simultaneously respectful and cute. Okay. Well, if the guy's like praying to her, I guess that makes sense. The girl Rika-chan said that with a smile as she clung onto my arm.
まあね、この村の自然がとても貴重だと聞いたんで、ぜひカメラに収めたいと思ったんだよ。私はこう見えても、とっても写真撮影が好きでね。
富竹2号なのです。
She knows him! He's been around before! Okay, let's go!
富竹?
Tomitake Mark II?
牧野、
Huh?
僕も一緒に行ってはいけませんですか?
Oh, this old guy's not gonna... Yes, let the girl come along. This will be great.
そんなレイカ様が来ても面白いことなんか何もないですよ。
Rika's supposed to be a reincarnation because of her family. That's why she's always doing the ceremony. I guess it's still weird.
レカちゃ
At
んは
least from my
境
mind.
内でマリア遊びでもしててくださいな。
Nah, so we're going on the nature tour and taking good photos.
ね
A distinctly displeased expression creeped across Rika-chan's face. Hey, ex-dude. Being able to show one's emotions honestly on their faces was a privilege young children had.
もしお差し支えなければ、この子も連れて行ってあげてください。
That's true. Once you're an adult, like, even if somebody says something to like offend you, you're not really supposed to react and be like, "How dare you?" Like, you're just kind of supposed to have a poker face, and that can make it difficult to figure out what people are feeling. When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika-chan's face with another Nipa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. Okay, tone it down, dude. This is weird. No. Father. Dad. I'm not reading that word. Nope. This is weird. What am I doing? Yes, what are you doing? Is everybody in this game a nutcase? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down.
風なかんと。レカ様はダメだ言うても聞かんしな。
That's a bad habit, Rika.
知ったらん
That's
と。
one you're gonna have to
お慣れ
break
くだ
before
さ
you
い。
grow up.
さあさあ、レカ様も。
The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onikafuchi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Ooh boy! Oh my gosh, Rika just got a thicker black outline to her sprite when that happened. Also, nice sound effect. Rika-chan brushed me aside, dove into his seat, and began bouncing around right away. It's true, he's not as weird as the coach. Doggone it, man. Coach could have been such a great character if he didn't have an obsession with romanticizing little girls. And maids. It seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. I love this new couch. It's so springy.
あんれレカ様。そんじゃおかげさんが座れねえですよ。だな、こら、レカ様。
Girls are nice. I wonder if my child will play around like this too. No, 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 no! It was written in that guide to raising a child. You shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids, if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them.
ふかふかでバインバインでニ
I
パ
mean, you can treat them well, but you do need to discipline them when necessary. If you don't discipline your kid, you hate your kid. Just throwing that out there.
ニパ
I am definitely not going to be a terrible father. Or I am definitely going to be a terrible father. It was decided that I would be a doting parent before my child was even born.
そんじゃお客さん、風景の綺麗そうなとこで適当にご案内しますよ。
Yeah, no, everybody's a weird creep in this game. Like, pretty much everybody. Like, the only person that I think is relatively normal... Nope, never mind. The teacher is not normal. She has an unhealthy obsession with curry.
お昼は食べましたかいね。
ー。ええ、ホテルで軽食を。
そんですか。では参りましょうかね。
We can just stop by the McDonald's along the
に
way.
出発なのですよ。
Can we go to McDonald's? Come on, can we?
はい、なのです。
We have food at home.
と、君はリカちゃんでいいのかい？
そうなのですよ。フルでリカと言いますです。もう繰り上がりの足し算とかもできますですよ。
How old is this girl? She's smart.
ああ、そ れはすごいな。
That's true. Yes, Tomotake was probably the most normal character. Even then, he had his quirks, but not as bad as the
小
other
指とかは
characters.
折ってませんですよ。ちゃんと暗算でできますですよ。
Let's go. The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. I had to at least be a little thankful that I met this girl.
じゃあ出発しましょうかいね。
I'm just grateful because it gives us more sprites to use.
ひなみ沢大自然ウォッチング。
Yeah, Boy Scouts! The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. Oh, what is this music? Don't take pictures of Riko without her consent, alright? Oh, wow, I love these backgrounds. Yeah, she could be 6 or 7 years old. That was adorable. I love that. His wife's gonna be, why did you take pictures of this random little girl in like all these photos? Listen, honey, it's not what it looks like. The old man, who was apparently named Makino, that is a little too close to Makina for my liking, but I'll accept it. Was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the Onikafuchi Guardians? Showed me around all the places that were breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. The scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. Yes, I'm telling you, it's awesome! At first I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps had their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoiled nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole uproar over the dam, I would want to bring Yuki here with me some other time. I wanted her to breathe in this fresh air, as well as show her the rejuvenating verdant scenery.
こんなのが面白いのですか？
Heck yeah!
赤坂は変な人なのです。
Hey,
いや、こういう円筒状の郵便ポストなん
I
て
just love
今はとても貴重だ
mailboxes.
よ。
They're awesome!
どことなく漂うノスタルジックな雰囲気は渋いと思わないかな。
ひなみ沢は楽しいですか？
Sure.
まあ楽しいよ。退院したらぜひ家内を連れてもう一度来たいよ。
They're gonna be like, why are you not in the hospital with her?
その時には生まれている子供も一緒にね。
How are you gonna explain this one?
今は出産を控えて入院しているんだ。
Oh, No, she was in labor, right? They're not just letting her hang out at the hospital waiting to be induced to labor. Like, that's an expensive way of waiting.
予定日がもうすぐでね。
Is she in labor or isn't she? If she's not in labor, why is she just hanging out in the hospital for days on end without being induced?
君みたいな可愛い女の子だといいんだけど。
お客さんはもうすぐおめでたですかいね。
Are they just not even going to say, why are you not there with her?
そんないけねえよ。奥さん惚れ出してこんな
Yeah,
とこで遊びに来て
exactly. How are you gonna explain this? I was momentarily at a loss for words. It was exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting for his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Or is he just gonna be like, well, you know, I have to be here for work and I'm just taking a day off.
ひなみ沢への旅行は前々からの予定だったんで、妻の家族が付き添ってくれているから大丈夫だし。
そんな年前から予定してたんならもしかね間に合わんとかいね。
Yeah!
いやそんだったらこんな窮屈な思いさせんと綺麗な観光バスで回れたのね。
Uh-oh, you're getting caught. It didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. But if this conversation continued any longer, it would put some unexpected holes in my cover. I halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture. Rika's like, you're a terrible person.
のいいとこさ案内しましょうかね。
It could be at least 24 hours, but Google doesn't say longer. I mean, yeah. I don't know, maybe Japan works differently. Oh, yeah, best view! It was slightly before evening. The sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze had begun to mix itself into the air. It seemed my exploration of Hinamizawa with Rika-chan was just about done.
一番景色のいいところですか？
そんなリカちゃま、境内からの景色さを置いて、
Ooh,
にゃ
Rika's
ありません
house!
やね。
Hearing that, Rika-chan smiled even more.
では赤坂を僕のお家へご招
Do
待
we get
な
to
の
meet
で
her
す。
parents? Because her parents should still be alive here.
リカちゃんのお家って
I'd really like that,
神社
actually.
ですよ。フルで神社。高台にありましてね。景色さ見られるんですよ。
フルで神社。
The girl who called Furude Shrine her home, Rika. If I remembered correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the three families. Even if the Sonozaki family is said to hold all the actual power, it was still one of the old houses that held some authority. Honey, we need to buy this plain green dress for our daughter. Don't ask why. I mean, honestly, you need a lot of clothes for your kid, so I'm sure she'd be like, yeah, it's fine. No, more important than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remembered correctly, Uishi had told me, within the grounds of the Furude Shrine were the offices of the Onikafuchi Guardians. And since the land around the Furude Shrine was private property, the police couldn't set foot there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, where even Uishi couldn't simply set foot into. The main base of operations for the Onikafuchi Guardians. I had been given the unexpected opportunity to enter there. I couldn't have asked for more.
楽しみです。ぜひお願いします。
じゃあ、酒々参りましょうかね。
Bonus!
天気も少し怪しいですからな。
Oh, this is a lot more fun. Okay, let's change up the music, shall we? That's the same music. That's the same music. Oh my gosh! Okay, fine. It's just all the exact same freaking music. The sky had suddenly become overcast. It wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish their daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Higurashi when they cry. Here we are. Oh, this is where we had the barbecue party last time. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them to act as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyashiro-sama's anger." Or a slogan of a similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using their loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam, or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. They proclaimed that, without a doubt, this was the headquarters of the Onikafuchi Guardians. For Rika-chan, however, this hectic place was also her home.
着きましたのですよ。
So we have, Rika. There you are.
ただいまなのです。
Rika-chan crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Makino had noticed I was looking at protest banners.
神社はダム反対運動の事務所も兼ねてましてね。こんな風景もあんたらには反安保闘争みてえで懐かしいでしょ。
Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time.
私は別に活動家ではありませんので。
I'm just Akasaka.
普通に学び、普通に卒業しました。国の政策にあのような暴力や立てこもりで対抗しようというよりは
Don't agree with violence, huh?
私は
はあ、あんたそれはそれで立派な意見さお持ちだね。
政策に意見したかったら同じ意見の政治家に投票するか、自ら政治の世界に飛び込み正当な手続きを持って 意見を主張するべきであ
It
る
is
と
a
思っ
nice
ています。
thought, but I also get the criticism that most candidates suck because most of the time, if you're running for office, you're probably not very qualified because most of the people that would be good for office are too smart to run.
それが民主政治の原点です。それに暴力で挑戦するなどあってはな
It
らない
looks
と
like
思いま
Rika's
す。
just smiling proudly at us, like, yeah, that's right. For a Yunnin, you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Makino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve.
赤坂が何を言っているのか全然わからないので
What are
す
you
よ。
talking about? Violence is the only way. Rika-chan, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. Yeah, you do. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understood that feeling very well.
ごめんね。リカちゃんには難しい話だったね。日本は平和の国だから自分の言いたいことは平和的に訴えなきゃいけない。暴力で訴えてはいけないということさ。
I mean, if you have to use violence to get your point across, your point probably isn't holding water. No matter how much I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. It probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika-chan anyway.
では赤坂、
Uh-oh.
僕たちの村はどうやったらダムに沈まなくなるのですか？
Uh-oh. Serious, Rika. Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was, at the main headquarters of an organization, telling them their way of doing things was illegal. Preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself with the respect of Makino's gaze. It was then that I finally realized. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. However, right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The legality of the Hinamizawa Dam project, through the efforts of various propaganda campaigns enacted by the Onigafuchi Guardians, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was at the most just a possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of a lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might have already been underwater.
僕たちはここでしか生きていけないのです。
Well, I mean, you can move elsewhere, it's just inconvenient.
都会では生きていけないのです。
Well, I don't want you to live in the city. The city sucks. The words of this remarkable young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Makino and Rika-chan's heavy words of silence.
すみません。よそ者が気安く言えるような問題ではなかったですね。謝罪します。
Makino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly.
お客人たちのようなよそに住んでる方々には関係ねえことです。ひなみ沢さん気に入ってくださったんなら、お客人のお友達みんなにもひなみ沢さん素晴らしい
Yeah, I mean,
とかだって宣伝してください。
Honestly, word of mouth is more powerful than people give it credit for. Speaking of which, tell all your friends about this awesome YouTube channel.
そういうのが何十年何百年と広がっていけば、この村さダム底に沈めるなんてふざけた計画もやがてはついえるんですかね。
He followed that with a smile that said, "Please don't think much of it." Makino letting me not worry that much really was a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension of being in enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into their headquarters might have been a good thing. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of the office, if there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger. It seemed that I looked quite despondent at the moment. Makino, thinking he had said something wrong, became flustered trying to think of a way to improve my mood.
本当に軽率なことを言いました。本当にすみません。
いいえ、そんなにお気にされないでください。
今日案内してもらった村のあちこちはどこもとても美しく素晴らしい場所ばかりでした。もう一度来たいと心底思わされました。そんな美しい村が ダムの湖底に沈むことになれば必死の戦いになるのもわかります。
He's smooth. I think he's digging himself out of the hole a little bit. Let's go, Akasaka. I had somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favor. After a bit, Makino had returned to his usual high spirits. It seemed he believed I completely sympathized with his point of view.
そうそう。そんな話はこれくらいにしましょう。本当にとても景色さえいいところがあるんです。
Is it at the top of like those 800 stairs? Is it at the Jade Palace of the Furious Five?
赤坂。
Rika-chan, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There was no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of older town council members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like, "The damn project must be destroyed!" It was just some relaxed idle chit-chat between the local geezers. The normal sort of calming scenery. Ooh. Oh, I like this music. I think we had this in the past, during some of the plot expositions. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onigafuchi Guardian's headquarters written in bold brushstrokes. That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I had been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'd have thought that it would be something much more dramatic, with barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's presence.
リカちゃまじゃないの。もう子供はお家に帰る時間だよ。
ここは僕のお家なのですよ。
Yeah, it's time for you to head home. The old folks guffawed, since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell this Rika Furude girl was loved by everybody. Except the...
牧野さん。
Oh, new guy! Wait, hang on. It's a new guy. Let's go. We haven't seen this boy before. I wonder who he is.
電話をくれた観光の人は。
Oh man, you told everybody about that, Makino?
そんですよ。こちら村長さんに。
Oh!
君吉村長さん。
This is Kimiyoshi. This is the guy that Shion 100% murdered in Act 2. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the look of things, this old man was the president of the Onigafuchi Guardians, none other than Kichiryo Kimiyoshi himself.
ようこそひなみぞへ。
He looks a little shifty, I gotta admit. Alright. Oh, he doesn't have a sprite in the original version, and he only has a console sprite. Interesting. So he's like the two little boys in the class, in that he didn't get a Steam sprite, they just reused his console sprite. That's fine.
いかがでしたか。静かでゆっくりしたところでしょう。
ええ、今日一日美しい場所をいくつも堪能させていただきました。貴重な機会をお与えくださったことを感謝します。
へえ、今時の若い方なのにまた真摯な方だね。
Oh, he doesn't like young people, except Rika.
喜一郎、赤坂に見晴らしのいいところを案内したい
Yeah,
のです
come on,
が
Kichiro, can we go, please? Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the three families, but he's also the head of one of the three families. She was probably different than the average villager.
赤坂、こっちなのですよ。
Oh, I can't say no to that face. Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over. And waiting for me was a magnificent view.
これは
Yeah, boy! That's a pretty nice
す
view.
ごい。
Where's Keiichi's house? Who the heck is Keiichi? Oh, sorry. It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. I like this giant pan. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. Rika doesn't use honorifics, it's kind of off-putting. No, I like that! Because, you know, in English we don't have honorifics, so for me that's just normal. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while, I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. I'd like to see that in winter, too, if it was buried under like a blanket of snow. That could be beautiful, too. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke.
僕の一番のお気に入りの場所なのですよ。
I see why. As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. Not even blue, it's green? Oh man! Not the algae-filled water. Oh, lame. Honorifics are kind of the equivalent of Mr., Miss, Sir, Man. Okay.
こんな村が湖底に沈むことになってるなんて信じられないよ。
I know. I said it quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. You've only been there in Speed, but it's very beautiful, and there's a road up to the spot where you can get that exact view. That's awesome. I do recall you saying that this was based off of a real-life location, and that you've been there. That's pretty cool, honestly. I also imagine that this would make the game a lot scarier, potentially, if you actually lived there in real life. Either that or you wouldn't be able to take it seriously, because I'm sure they're taking a lot of artistic liberties. I regretted it as soon as I did. For those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile.
沈みませんよ。
Oh! It floats! We put rafts underneath it all.
ダム計画なんて必ずなくなっちゃいますのです。
Because I'm going to kill the foreman! It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It just was her wish.
赤坂はこの村が沈んでしまうと思っていますか？
Is this where we get the choice?
沈んでほしくなんかないよ。
I know how important this dam was. I knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but I couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, I might be able to object to the dam. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but... how sentimental of me.
沈みませんよ。ダムの計画はもうすぐなくなりますですから。
How do you know that? Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve. As if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. As surely as the sun rising in the east.
もうすぐなくなる？
Wanting to ask her why she believed that, I turned around.
はい、なくなりますのですよ。
どうしてそう言い切れるんだい？
それはなのです。
I overheard them talking about a plan. It's kind of like the train question, save 10 people or save 2. Oh, the trolley problem? Yeah, I guess. But would it not be possible to build a dam somewhere else? I don't know that much about dam construction anyways, so... She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say.
赤坂が何をしてもしなくても、ダム計画は今年で終わりになってしまうのです。
Interesting. Hey Liz, welcome to the stream. Only mention of winter in this game was Mion making the group do the Rio Carnival as part of... I don't remember that part. That was probably just an offhanded feign back in, like, episode 1. Also, reminder to people, I don't think people need to be reminded, but if you do know, like, how the story goes, no spoilers. That will not be good. Don't spoil it for people. I'm not saying that you are spoiling it or that people do know. Just, I thought I'd throw that out there. I think it goes without saying, but there you go. Because if people say, like, oh, I bet this happens, I'm assuming that they don't know and that they're just guessing. Even if they are spoiling it, I don't realize. Oh, she murders the manager. Like, yeah, exactly. Totally. Definitely 6-year-old Rika's gonna do that.
もう決まっていることなのですよ。
It's been decided by God himself. That was a lie. If something like that had already been decided, then the Onikafuchi Guardians would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was that they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the damn project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said that they had already won. That contrast was somehow strange.
どうしてそう思うんだい？
I think it was the first of those, DX. I think you are just very perceptive. Or if everybody predicted that, maybe I'm just stupid. Oh, it was mentioned back in Chapter 2 when Rena and Keiichi were facing Mion and waiting for her to get back. Okay. I don't remember a lot of the little details, especially for the little skits that happen. I try to remember the big stuff, but even then... That's the problem with playing these once or twice a year.
何か確信があるなら私に教えてくれないかい？
Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
だって、
だって
Because! She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it. That kind of expression.
決まっていることなのです。他に言いようがないのですよ。
決まっているって
Hmm.
言ったって。
It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission, that I had forgotten about during this fun-filled day, resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onikafuchi Guardians kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me? That's gonna be hard to explain back at headquarters, though. Like, guys, they were definitely responsible. How do you know? This girl implied it. It's like, uh-huh, sure. The girl called out my name suddenly.
なんだい？
東京へ帰れ。
What? How do you know? What? Huh? I wasn't only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I had never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. That's what I thought! How do you know that? Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It's probably because she's glaring at us with that very serious expression. It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor.
あなたはさっさと東京に帰った方がいい。
Why is your voice way deeper now?
でないとひどく後悔することになる。
Bro, compare her voice here to where it was before. She's like 6 octaves deeper. The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan, who I'd spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve this entire time. But somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I had never met before. She doesn't have the reptile eyes, though. That girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart.
それがあまりにもみすぼらしくて気の毒今のうちから警告してあげているのです。
どうして私が後悔することになると？
Oh!
いちいちうるさいな。
What the heck? This is so freaking weird. I couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words come from Rika-chan's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her, using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move.
あなたの親はあなたが赤信号の横断歩道の真ん中にいるときどうして危ないのかを全部説明し終えるまであなたの手を引っ張らないの？引っ張るでしょ。まず歩道まで連れ戻してからなぜ危険なのかを解くでしょ。 つまりはそういうこと。
What is up with Rika? The girl I had spent time with, Rika Furaday, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief, childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words.
警告はした。勘違いしないでほしいのは、私があなたを嫌いだからこういうことを言ってるわけじゃないってこと。死んでもいい人に危険なんかを教える必要はないのだし。
Is she possessed by a demon right now? That's my guess.
君は誰だ？リカちゃんじゃない。
Yee! Was not expecting the creepy smile there. What the heck? What the heck? Wait, let me change. Yeah, oh farts! Oh jeez, Louise, that's one of the creepiest sprites. Oh jeez, oh man, I'm peeing my pants right now. That one doesn't look nearly as creepy. Yikes! I am gonna get nightmares about that face. Yow! Wow! All right, yeah, creepy Rika is really something. As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. Yep, demons. It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That occult idea came to my mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody, help! Thinking that I'd yell that, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. That's right. To him, it looked nothing more like me and Rika-chan fooling around. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her.
赤坂の怖がり。
The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. That cackling girl, approaching me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation. But now, extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan, but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at the moment. This is going to be where she goes back to normal. Yep. Demons. The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? How did she speak 6 octaves lower if she wasn't possessed by something else? That way of acting. It was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened. Yeah.
冗談だろ。リカ。
Maybe she is trying to warn him about getting murdered, but it seemed pretty threatening.
Me.
I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that, as if questioning herself.
お客人、リカちゃまも
Uh-oh, it's an old woman.
お茶が入りましたよ。
I'm not drinking the tea.
塩大福もあるからに、ぜひ食ってきんさいな。
An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed.
わーいなのです。
A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile. The one that belonged to be the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of the creepy girl that was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished.
ほら、リカちゃま。
Maybe she is Oyashira's mouthpiece.
手を洗ってきんさいね。
She's supposed to be descended from Oyashiro-sama. That's what Takano said back in, I can't even remember if it was Act 2 or Act 3.
バッチおててにゃ食わせるまんじゅはありんせんね。ちゃんと洗いますですよ。
Yeah, you're gonna wash your hands of that scene, aren't you, Rika? Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call me.
早く来ないから、僕は赤坂の分までおまんじゅうが食べられてホクホクなのです。
That's okay, I suddenly lost my hunger.
お手手を洗わない人はおまんじゅうが食べられないのですよ。
No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way she said them. No matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's. See, I don't trust someone whose first name is old and last name is woman. I would trust her a little more than kid napper, but still. I'm sure she knows how to wash her hands. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan at the wash station. Splish splash! I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school.
間違っていますか?
Yeah.
間違い
You told me to get bent and had a creepy smile on your face.
僕のお手手の洗い方です。金シールを4個しかもらったことないです。僕はお手手を洗うのがきっと下手なのですよ。
Perhaps.
間違ってなんかないよ。それだけしっかり洗えてれば十分だよ。
それだけではダメなのですよ、赤坂。ちゃんとたわしを使って爪の間の赤も落とさないと金シ
You
ール
gotta
を
get
も
the
らえ
dirt
ない
out.
ので
It's
す。
true.
うん。リカちゃんは真面目で偉いな。
You're also a master at voice manipulation.
ニパー、赤坂に褒められましたのです。
No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was this sinister girl?
リカちゃん、さっきのあれはどういう意味だい？
I've heard of manju before. Yeah, it's basically fried dough. It's like Japanese elephant ears.
さっきリカちゃんは私に東京へ帰れってそう言っただろ。
言いましたのですか?
Yeah. I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what the girl just now had said. Like I would ever believe something as occult as that could happen. Like I would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things.
リカちゃんが確かにそう言ったよ。
I definitely didn't mishear that.
みー。
Her expression told me that. Despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had, I let out a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of the tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Guardians that highlighted their resistance efforts. This is us shooting the police, what? Older folks talked passionately about how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed that I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's, after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passing of time. But I could by no means forget what had happened. Yeah, you're not forgetting that. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief.
そうですか。では、また明日もぜひいらっしゃい。お電話さくれれば、すぐに迎えを出しますんでね。
Well, that's very nice of you.
ご好意感謝します。ぜひ明日も遊びに来ようと思います。
ねえ、さしてあげてくださいな。あんた、リカちゃまに大層気に入られたみたいですね。
Until she didn't.
赤坂は明日も来ますですか?
No, I don't think so.
明日は5次元で終わりですから、3時くらいに来てくれると嬉しいのですよ。
Have a good night, Liz, and thanks for joining in. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. That was not a hallucination, I saw it too. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of the three families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, then having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. Your wife is in labor! I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onikafuchi Guardians and had the mayor, as well as other important members of the Alliance, welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. Aren't you supposed to meet the informant tonight? However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. You're downing a beer while she's still here. That's a little interesting. Yeah, we were supposed to meet the informant. We gave Uishi a lot of money to pay off his gambling debts for that. We're not letting that go to waste. New tips unlocked. Going slow movie. Why I like rainy days. Barley tea, black tea, and a millstone. The terrifying shrine girl met with someone's adorable daughter. With Manju as the thing. Alright, let's view the new tips. Going smoothly. Alright, here we go. The sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Where are we? Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump. Thump, 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 thump. It was the passcode.
帰ってきたね。開けちょくれな。俺だ。
Is this kidnapper?
ああ、お疲れ。今開ける。
After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had Seven's Mart written on them, with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were then spread over a sheet on the floor.
カップラーメン買ってきちゃう。お湯沸かせな。小僧はどうした
Oh yeah, one of these guys probably is kidnapper.
んずっと寝てる。
This is where the kid is.
手がかからなくて助かるよ。うんこ垂れるときは騒ぐけどな。
Yikes.
漏らさせんな。練習は万一のとき、やばいって。わかってるよ。猿グツワは定期的にチェックんな。外れてもまずいん。きつくも締め付けちゃあん。窒息させたら意味がなん。
It's a fine balance getting the gag just right.
わかってるって。あれ携帯コンロのガス管頼まなかった？もうガスねえよ。聞いてねえ。だは。マジかよ。ついてくれよ。くそ。
Guess you're eating dry ramen tonight. He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh. And with a backwards glance at that sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor.
小僧、元気かいね。
He can't say yes, he's gagged. Of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt.
今んところ順調らし。命の心配はない。お前のじいさんがしぶり寄ったん。耳たぶの一つも切り落とさなきゃならんかったんけ。やらんくて済んで助かりや
What
ん
a
よ。
nice man this kidnapper is.
本家はこうと決めたら鬼やんね。どんな残酷なこと命令するかも想像つかん。
Okay, then.
その本家が小僧に傷一つつけるな言うてんから、とにかく順調なんだろんな。大臣はダム計画を撤回で水面下工作。ひなみ沢ダム計画は無期凍結へ。
There it is.
小僧の解放はいつ頃になるんだろうな。
That's the funny part. We don't.
早く一服したいもんだぜ。本家が決着のタイミング測ってるらしい。
Everyone is
いつになるか
human.
はあらんが。
Everyone's got good and bad in them.
よかったな小僧。もうじき解放されるぞ。
He can't hear you. The men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing that he could do but continue to sleep to escape his harsh reality.
それよん、ガスをどうするんね。 ラーメン食えんよ。
You could. It just wouldn't be good.
ガス切れたなら言うてえな、もう。
That's why I don't recognize the place, because I'm not supposed to. Oh, no. Okay, I see Little, Mion, and Coach in that third one. Well, first, why I like rainy days. The weather forecast had predicted that it wouldn't rain at all this entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same, unchanging sunny weather, however, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. If it's simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialist said that they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping that it would be wrong, as I stared up into the clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky undisturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased to this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcomed the summer evenings where not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. It's Keiichi's house! But when you're called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you was instead an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry. I'd be very upset. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted by such whimsy. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still, I would be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. If tonight was repeated 100 times, and 100 times you had to eat curry rice, yet for just this one night, that was changed to an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry. There's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening, but why would you say... Okay, who is talking? I thought that this was Akasaka because he's the protagonist, but maybe not. I hate pre-established routines. I really hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that today, something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. It's been decided that this entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obliged to do so. There it is! It's been decided. But who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? It's something that nobody can say for sure, but because that thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. However, I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung up upside-down weather charms on my sunlit eavesdrop. That's not how that works. In the end, I spend my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then, why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So, why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. That's why rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. Yeah, they kept saying it's been decided, which is the same thing that quote-unquote Rika was saying. So maybe it's whatever possessed Rika? I have no idea. Alright, barley tea, black tea, and a millstone. Okay, here we go. I'm excited about this one. I mean, Coach is back, but...
だいぶ血圧も良くなってきましたよ。そのお年でこれだけの回復力があるのは、いやいや、感服するばかりです。
So this is regular Coach, but come on, we all know this is best Coach. Yep. We all know that this Coach is best Coach with the bussin' outfit. He has the nice face here.
お嬢さんなら100でも200でも元気にお過ごしになれますね。
Oreo! Are we gonna finally see Oreo? The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of an old woman tucked away in her futon. Yeah, it's the old girl. Yeah! There she is! Oh my gosh! We finally see the grandma! Let's go! It's grandma! There she is! Mion's grandma, I believe? Yeah, she's like the big, like, yeah, I'm in charge of the Sonosakis. Is she? Oh, nope, that's still how she looks in the console. Okay, that's weird. It's the same sprite, but if you don't have the console art style, she doesn't get the lip sync. The old lady, Oreo, laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Yeah, look at that smile. That's definitely a smile. Then, turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice.
シミ子さん、片江子さんおらんね。入江先生に麦茶でも入れてやりゃな。
Were you expecting her to be, like, really fat? I could see that, I guess. The sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway grew closer, until finally the doors slid smoothly open. I don't know why I was kind of expecting old Sophie from Howl's Moving Castle, but that was kind of what I was picturing in my mind. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Is it?
シミ子さんは今日はもう上がっちゃったよ。
Oh my gosh, she's adorable.
何かよ。
That's stinking cute. It doesn't even look young. Wow, it looks so bad. Oh no, folks, we've got a problem. I want the console style for Little Mion, but I want the Steam art style for Coach. No. All right, we got to do this one.
ミオ、入江の先生に麦茶を入れたってんな。
She's old. She's an old fart. She's like a twig.
うん、了解。
I know. Mion's so adorable.
紅茶の方がいい？砂糖もミルクもたっぷり？
わしが加減するから入れんでええんね。砂糖壺とミルクも一緒に持ってきてんな。
Aw, this is so cute.
はいはい。
She got that wink. You and Mion changed tops in a different art style. It's also literally just like, we kind of made her sprite a little smaller. Nah, okay. I'm seeing now why people like the console art style. I wish I could mix and match some. That would be nice. The girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway.
先生の麦茶は来客用のガラス茶碗に入れるんよ。ちゃんとお座布団もつけてな。
We've got guests. Bring out the good cups. It's like the Mario cups.
水滴もちゃんと拭き取っとくんね。
Okay, Grandma.
待ってるって。うっさいな。
Yeah, fussy pants. A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of the voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl.
ああ、しょうがないやっちゃな。叱られるうちが離んねえ、なんたく。
おりょうさん、まあ、そこまでは
Coach
言わなくても
looks kind of weird in the console art style, I'm gonna be honest. It's like his head is squished or something.
あれの母親もな、しょうがないやっちゃったんね。
I love how he's still calling him Coach, even though he's Dr. Eerie. I mean, Eerie's a funny name, but I don't know, Coach just sticks. The Eerie Coach.
で、その母親の母親もまたそっくりなんじゃないですか？
The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed that she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way.
入江先生、申し訳ない。症状開けてもらえんけんね。風が涼しそうだわ。
The cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gaps in the doorway. Eerie stood up and opened the door a bit. Ah, look at that! A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had been built up in the room.
日中はだいぶ暑くなったように思うんですが、まだ朝夕は涼しいですね。夕べは少し肌寒いくらいでした。
そんな朝夕もまたひなみ沢のいいところな。
By the way, have I asked you to join the anti-dam project movement yet? Eerie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them, for a little while, soaked in the voices of the Higurashi.
わしゃ100まで生きにせ。もうしばらくは死ねんよ。
Good luck with that.
ダムの剣。きっちり蹴りつけるまで。
Until I murder a couple
あ
more
ん
people.
の高って収まらんわ。
I'm not kicking the bucket just yet. Alright, sure, Oreo.
国が一度決めたことを撤回するのはなかなか難しいでしょうね。
Hey man, you just get it, Professor.
国のやることはな、いつの世も一周す回すみたいなもんね。そんれもだいぶ重いやっちゃ。
Oh yeah.
石臼ですか？
I don't know if I go that far.
知らんねか、石臼。
Erie quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about, for he knew full well that Oreo didn't like having her stories interrupted.
国のイシュさな。なんでもゴリゴリ引いちまう。大したもんよ。でもな、簡単には回らない。重いイシュースなんねんな。
Yeah, Donkey Kong has experience with that.
たくさんの人間が、せーのってやって、ようやくじりじりと動き出す。そんなイシュースなんよ。
Erie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. There she is! Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oreo was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to interrupt.
だから、一度回り始めたら、簡単には止められんね。回し始める一番初めが一番重い。それが嫌だから、みんな手を休めんと、ゴリゴリ回し続けるんね。
摩擦係数の話でしょ。
Yes,
確かにバッタの
friction!
話、理
Exactly.
屈はあるね。
It takes a village to push the millstone.
ちゅうことはだ。何かの間違いで突然イシュースが止まっちまったら、また回すにゃどえらい力がかかる。ちゅうこったな。
Exactly.
確かに一度中断した計画をもう一度動かすのに必要なエネルギーはかな
Yeah!
りのものでしょうね。
簡単には止められんイシュースだけどな。一度止めれば二度とは回らん。
I don't know about that one.
そういうイシュースよ。
石臼を止めるいい手があればいいんですがね。
When Erie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Erie, instinctively thinking that he had said something rude, searched in a small panic for the words to correct himself. But that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across Mion and the old lady's faces were contemptuous smiles. Uh-oh. Yikes! I don't like I don't like that at all. We kill people. The atmosphere surrounding Erie suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted. Thinking that the scornful smiles creeping across both their faces was the result of some mistake of his, he could only grow afraid. Yeah, I'd be a little scared. Awkwardly laugh. It hadn't been that long at all since he was enveloped by silence. However, unable to stand it, Erie could only let out a weak laugh. Erie's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady. Not knowing exactly what they were laughing at, their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. Alright. It's starting to get good. We hired the Yakuza to kidnap a child. It's okay. They probably did. Let's be real. But then again, that would be a little too simple. We're going to get some kind of weird thing where it's like, guys, Keiichi did it before he moved here. Like, what? The phone suddenly rang. It's a girl! I knew it! I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m.
しまった。
You did not meet with the informant last
定
night.
時連絡の時間を寝過ごした。
I picked up the receiver.
赤坂様、外線からお電話が入っておりますが、おつなぎしてもよろしいでしょうか。
I guess.
ご同僚の加納様と申されております。
I knew it. I didn't call in, so they phoned me.
すみません。つないでください。
かしこまりました。おつなぎしますので、一度受話器を置いてお待ちください。
After I had put down the receiver for a few seconds, the phone began to ring again.
はい、もしもし。赤坂です。
赤坂くん、加納です。
Yep.
お疲れ様。
Oh, thanks. You figured out that the Sonozakis hired the Yakuza.
定時連絡がなかったので、こちらからかけました。そちらの状況はどう？
Alright, well, have you got an hour and a half? Leaving the lecture for later, my senior coworker got straight to the point.
今日はひなみ沢村へ実島に行きました。観光客を装うことで村長以下の何人かの主同盟の要人との接触に成功。何も聞き出すには至りませんでしたが、好印象を得て 明日以降へのつなぎを作ることができました。
そう、なかなか手際がいいね。赤坂くんのどこか初々しい感じがむしろ武器になったのかもしれないね。
Yeah, but this creepy girl got possessed by a demon and told me to go back to Tokyo, so I'm gonna do that. No, you can't do it. Nah, bye!
まずは上守備ってところかな。
比較するほど経験がないので上守備かは分かりませんが、とりあえず今日のところは順調だと思います。
県警での情報や地元警察の公安での情報と照らしてどう？鬼ヶ淵死守同盟は白っぽい？
I still didn't know. I should have been able to say that immediately. I only had to say that, but for some reason, I hesitated.
まだ調査中ですので、なんとも。
そう、なるべく早めにね。分かってると思うけど、今夜が終われば誘拐から丸4日が経過する。いつが時間切れという明白な区切りはないけど、時間の経過は確実に我々の状況を不利にしていく。それは分かってるよね。
ええ、分かっています。迅速に。だけれど細心の注意で調査を続けます。
うん。くれぐれも気をつけてね。相手は暴力主義団体なんだから。油断すれば危険もあり得るからね。危険が迫ったらすぐに連絡を。
That'll be hard if I'm out in the boonies.
その場合は地元公安に応援体制を入れられるようにするからね。
ありがとうございます。頑張ります。
他に
When are we meeting the informant? Oh yeah, I paid taxpayer money to this weird police detective to pay off his gambling debt so I could get an informant to talk to me. And I missed the meeting with the informant because I was playing with a little girl. What the bleep, dude? I reported several bits of supplementary information, and at the very end I decided to ask.
そちらの調査の進展はどうですか？
うん。こっちもみんな頑張ってるけど、なかなかはかどらないよ。何しろ調べる団体が星の数だからね。だから君の方の団体も白だと分かったらすぐに帰郷して他の職員の応援に入ってもらいたいんだよ。室長は鬼ヶ淵も洗っとけって言ってるけど、俺は鬼ヶ淵なんかの反ダム住民団体なんかは今回の件全く無縁だと思ってるからね。
You might be surprised about that one.
職員一人を一団体調べさせるためだけに出張させるのはすごく痛いよ。ほんと。
At this point, he was just complaining. He was telling me to stop taking time enjoying my trip, to finish up and get back quick.
なるべく早めにケリをつけるようにします。
うん、よろしくね。じゃあ他に何もなければ切るよ。
はい、特にありません。
Whoopsie poopsie. As we were ending our call, he scolded me thoroughly for being late with my regular report. After that, I hung up the phone and sprawled out on the bed. Come to think of it, I hadn't heard anything from Uishi. He was supposed to contact me about a time and place to meet with the informant tonight. Oh, never mind, he didn't miss it. I thought about getting angry with Uishi in retaliation for being scolded for forgetting my daily report. Come to think of it, though, Uishi didn't really say anything other than that he was going to call tonight. Waiting for a phone call when you didn't know what time it was going to come was itself rather difficult. Speak of the devil, just when I thought that the phone rang, I picked up the receiver in a hurry.
もしもし。
これはびっくりしました。
Yeah, speak of the devil!
赤坂さん、あなた受話器取るの早いですね。
Oh, there's the Animal Crossing music.
警官辞めても大企業の営業で十分飯が食えますよ。
まだ警官辞めた後のことなんか考えたこともありません。
そこまで過剰に反応されると面白いな。
Okay, dude, just don't make me meet at Hooters.
しかしいけないな。
No, he's gonna try to take me to Hooters! I don't want to go to Hooters! Thank you!
本題に入ってください、大石さん。
そうですか。それは残念です。じゃあ、老後の話は次の機会にでも。
I'm married, you creep.
では本題に。
Oh, too bad the informant is at Hooters. Doggone it! Many of the executives in the Onigafuchi Guardians had a lot of sway in the neighboring regions. Even in Okinomiya, where there were a lot of people with relations in the village. That's why meeting in the Shishibone Market District, far from Okinomiya, was a matter of course. There he is! Uishi!
ちょっと迷いましたか。北口からの方が遠回りだけど道は分かりやすかったかもしれませんね。
いえ、遅れて申し訳ありませんでした。
夕飯はもう食べちゃいました。
Yes, we did.
すま
We're
せん
not going to Hooters.
じゃあお酒の飲めるお店に行きましょうか。
This guy will stop at nothing to take me to Hooters.
洋酒派
American
日
alcohol.
本酒派女の子のいる店といない店はどっちがいいですかね。
I don't want to go to Hooters.
お構いなく。勤務中は飲みませんので。
I hope none of my condo neighbors are hearing this. This is gonna be hard to explain. Hearing that, the man that Uisi had brought along bent backwards as he guffawed, clapping Uisi on the shoulder.
ね
He doesn't get a Sprite, so he's not important.
え、初々しい人でしょ。その分ちょっぴりサービスしてあげてくださいよ。あのお金は全部彼のお財布から出てるんですからね。
The man that Uisi had brought seemed almost like a ticket scalper or a bookie. Even his appearance was dubious. Show me. The informant grinned deviously.
おい坊主、お前旦那にいくら渡した？
Sato. Do we know a Sato?
だいぶ途中でつまみ食いされてんぞ。
大石氏への仲介手数料も含めています。
His handling fee. Yeah, this is sketchy AF. It seemed that the informant had expected a more extravagant reaction on my part. When I responded matter-of-factly, he realized that I was an entirely different type of person than he was. But rather than putting a distance between us, it seemed that I had piqued his interest.
だから言ったでしょ。真面目な人なんです。でもね、赤坂さん、私たちのような職種の人間は豊富な社会経験がとても武器になるんですよ。
女の子がいてお酒が飲めるお店での経験がどう武器になるか疑問で
It's
す。
a bar, so it's probably not Hooters, but it could be like a strip club or something. Is that why we want to put on the highest level censorship thing? The informant, unable to contain himself, clutched at his stomach as he guffawed, heedless of the people watching.
いや、もう赤坂さんはいちいち察しがいいな。よっ、さすが高学歴。
大石さん、あなたどこかで
Have you been drinking?
酔っ払ってます。
オフタイムに飲んで何が悪いんですか。
Okay, well, to be honest, I don't see much difference between him sober and him drunk,
あ
so...
なたは勤務中でも私はオフ。オフ。
This might be why you have gambling debts there. Uisi was the sport that would fool around to begin with. It was in such a good mood, I couldn't figure out a way to deal with him. Completely different than me, who had come worried about getting every bit of information I could. Uisi-san, after taking so much money, you were supposed to give me information worth at least as much. I thought this, but then I realized I was getting my information from the informant, so it doesn't matter how drunk Uisi was. It was nothing I could complain about, but I still felt slightly riled up. It's just unprofessional, that's what it is. Let's go to a casino. Yeah, so you can rack up more gambling debts. Uisi and the informant, it was no doubt a fake name, but he introduced himself as Sato. Okay, I don't know Sato. Oh wait, I know why I recognize the name Sato. That's Asami's last name from Legend of Korra. Well, he led the way deeper and deeper into the back streets of the market district. Even though the market was bustling, a couple of turns off the main street, and you were in a desolate alleyway. Uisi started climbing a set of stairs on the side of a seedy building. There wasn't any sort of signage, so I couldn't tell if the place was open or if it was even a store at all. It's probably a speakeasy.
安心してくだ
Oh
さい。
wait, those are only in America.
怪しい店じゃありませんよ。
Those words, coming from Uisi's mouth, had absolutely no credibility. Are we in a dentist's office right now? What even is this place? Okay, no, they're selling tobacco, so it's probably not a dentist's office. Beyond the door was, thankfully, a typical mahjong parlor. I was relieved that it wasn't the sort of suspicious place I had to be on my guard about.
はい、いらっしゃい。
Hey, salesperson.
あら、大石さん、お久しぶ
Oh,
り。
are you here to pay your gambling
こっ
debts?
ち入ります？すぐ開きますよ。
いいえ。今日はセットですからいいです。
How about we play mahjong for keeps?
待たせましたね。
Mahjong is a game played with 4 people. It seemed that a middle-aged man who was going to be our 4th had already arrived and was waiting for us.
遅えぞクラウド。俺はもう帰ろうと思ってたんだから。
It's old man. Oh no. Well, Lucy made an excuse for why we had taken so long. Sorry, we went to Hooters. Of course you did. Eventually realizing that I was a new face, the older man grew interested.
彼は赤坂さん。東京からはるばる出張されてきた将来有望な新人さんです。坊主、 前麻雀はできんのか？
I don't even know the rules to Mahjong.
まあ学生時代にそこそ
The
こ。
couches look pretty nice, too. Sato and the old man cackled in unison. Let's get his money. Their plot to sucker me out of my money was painfully obvious.
緊張続きの出張で疲れておいでだろうと思いましてね。
Actually, I had a great time. I took a 5-hour power shower.
一つ今夜は心の選択でもして差し上げましょう
Okay,
か
I
と思
don't
い
want
ま
to
して。
gamble either. I'm a good boy. I'm a good Christian boy.
今さら野暮なことを聞きますが、私たち警察官ですよね。
He's like, yeah, that doesn't really mean anything, though, kid. Oh, that's hilarious. This guy thinks policemen don't do dumb stuff off duty.
まあそれは一個なしで。なーに実際にはかけるわけじゃありませんよ。
Just a couple 20s.
この後いいお店に遊びに行くときに誰が全員分を払うのか決めるだけですって。
No. Okay, man, I don't like Uisi anymore.
遊びに行く？
I mean, I didn't really like him after he took, like, 16-year-old Keiichi to a Hooters without his parents' permission, but still, go play.
どんな店に遊びに行くんですか？
Without reservation, the three of them started suggesting places like cabarets, high-class clubs, and even brothels. I am not going to the brothel. At the very least, they were the type of places that you couldn't go to with money that was just for funsies.
私のお金は先日大石さんに根こそぎ預けて支払いは不可能ですし。
じゃあ坊主が勝てばいいじゃねえかよ。
No, okay, we're taking Sato out and just
おめえ
getting
が
their
勝った
info.
らこの雀荘の支払いはなしでクラウドに仕事の話でも何でもすればいい。
No matter what happened, it seemed they were intent on playing Mahjong for free. I would have to fasten my resolve a bit. If I was going to be underestimated like this forever, it was going to get in the way of my work.
わかりました。では少しだけお付き合いします。私が勝ったらアフターの遊びは一切なしですぐに仕事の話に入ってもらいますからね。
The stakes are so high!
いいですとも。
I'm gonna cheat.
俺
I'm
が
so
勝ったら
gonna cheat.
フラワーのブルーマーメイドに直行だからね。
Oh, the mermaid on the Orlando Strip. Yeah, it's a classy gift shop.
おやっさんも好きだな。私はもちろん馴染みの店をはしごしまくりですよ。
Okay, bruh, hang on. Darn it. Darn it! He has his hands in his pockets in all of these. I was trying to check if he had a wedding ring so I could accuse him of being a creepy cheat. But maybe he's just single forever. Well, with this attitude, I wonder why.
あけみちゃん。
Okay, this guy's weird.
佐藤さんはどうします？
私は静かに飲めるお店でいいですよ。
静かにバニーさんと。でしょ
Not everybody wants to go to Hooters!
この間飲みに行った時、あんたバニーさんの尻尾を引っこ抜いちゃったでしょ。
Okay.
あれ結局弁償だったの？
What did I do to deserve this?
マスターに法政代とか言われて一本ドンペリ開けられたな。
Bruh. Even I know that Dom Perignon is like a ridiculously expensive alcohol. Ah, classic! What a lively table this was. I could tell the other customers were glaring at us while we loudly continued our crude conversation. Yes, just take a look at all of these other customers in the shop. Yeah, poor Akasaka, man. He's just like, my wife is giving birth and I'm missing it. Can we please stop talking about strip clubs? Speaking of which, the fact that they assumed I was the same was a bit disheartening. Uisi had taken all the money I'd brought, so everything I had left was out of my own pocket. In addition, there wasn't that much left of that either. If I kept on hanging around him like this, through his gouting, my wallet would disappear into the night. I had to somehow win and return the conversation to my job, or you can just say, screw this, Sato, I paid my money, we're talking. But these people, no matter how you looked at it, were pretty good. Sorry, Yuki. Oh no.
そんじゃこれでリーチっと。
Well, the old man and Sato-san probably won't fall for this silly Riichi. I wonder if Akasaka-kun will split out what I need.
クラウドのリーチなんざどうせこの辺だろ。この辺なら通るだろ。そりゃ。
Oh ho! The old man's pretty good. He's quietly trying to use one of my safe tiles to complete his hand, isn't he? It seems that Akasaka-kun has at least learned the ropes when it comes to guarding against someone's Riichi. But that will be his downfall.
どうした坊主、サクッと切らねえかい。よくわからなかったらクラウドと同じもんを切ってりゃ安全だぞ。
Ooh, Akasaka-kun's really fretting over this one. It was glaringly obvious that he had a safe tile to discard, but he didn't want to throw it away in case it would move him farther from completing his hand. They're so nice when they're young and innocent. Come on, hurry up and throw out the kicker. If he gave me the winning tile, we'd be heading to an establishment where I could do... Nope, not reading that. If he gives the old man the winning tile, we'd be heading straight for the place with the maids and bloomers. Bruh, these guys are the worst!
これは通りますか？
He looked up as he hesitantly threw out a tile that was, too bad.
おいおい、危ねえパイだぞ。クラウド、通るのか。
いいと。
It seemed this time you were lucky. But as long as the round kept going, I could still win off the draw. But after that, Akasaka-kun managed to luckily avoid throwing any bad tiles, and somehow the round managed to end without anybody completing a hand.
天敗。
当然。
Sato-san had keenly anticipated that two players were in Riichi and had decided to play it safe. What a cool-headed way of playing. Now let's see what kind of hand did Akasaka-kun have. When the round ends with nobody winning a Mahjong, anybody in Tenpai has to show their hand. But if you're not in Tenpai, you have no obligation to reveal it. Your average beginner would normally show their hand, even if they weren't in Tenpai, and start a commotion about how if this tile or that tile they came, they would be in Tenpai. But he didn't. Being stingy,
どうだって坊主。ちょっと見せてみ。
Sato-san reached over to flip the hand that Akasaka-kun had casually placed face down.
なんじゃこりゃ。
He was nowhere near Tenpai. Was Akasaka-kun totally bad at this after all? Right then, as the old man compared his tiles from Akasaka-kun's hand to the discard pool, a puzzled expression crossed his face.
坊主、おめえ、この辺りで張っとるだろ。どうして切った？
I have no idea what they're talking about.
マンズの高いあたりが急に高騰しましたので抑えました。大石さんのリーチに対して安全性が高まったのにです。筋でさばけば無難なのにわざわざ抑えた方がいる。
おう、クラウドのテンパイなど鼻から論外。
相当高度な引っ掛けでなければ私の宝珠を期待したぬるめの手かと思って。それよりもダマで張ったあなたの方がとりあえずは問題
Oh,
です。
maybe this guy's good.
いつテンパイしたのに気づいた？
この辺りですか。ノンタイムで4連続で切ってますよね。初めは食い替えかと思いましたが私をチラチラ見ていたので期待しているんだと気づきました。
Akasaka-kun, you.
赤坂さん、あんた麻雀始めてどのくらい？
高校から大学くらいまでの間しかやっていませんよ。
But he watches YouTube videos.
さあ続けましょう。佐藤さんはテンパイしなかったから流れて次は私ですね。親。
It seems that Akasaka-kun is really aware of how the game flows. We thought we were just going to eat him alive, but it looks like that isn't going to be so easy. I really hope Akasaka wins so we don't have to go to Higurashi. Oh my gosh, that's what he looks like! Oh dude, it's Tomoya! It's literally just grown-up Tomoya with maybe a different eye color. Let's go. He looks like pretty much every, visual novel protagonist. Let's go. Uishi-san, looks like you're going for the bamboo
回
tiles.
しますか。
この坊主。クラウド、降りるな。
あと3つ。いい牌が来ればな。佐藤さんはうまくいきそうです。
I know I can.
くそ。食いたんで引きずり下ろすか。チーだ。
チーですか。じゃあすみません。それポンです。
Oh now, going to call a three of a kind after he declared a straight? Trying to override and interfere?
坊主、おめえ、離れしとるな。
まさか。
Tomatake is also far more ripped.
私が生まれる前から打ってるような方々とは比べようもないです。
Having said that though, Tomatake has worse taste in women.
あ、それです。どうトイトイ赤赤ドラさん。
Let's
親です
go!
からね。ちょっぴり高いですよ。
Let's go, Akasaka! Yes!
赤坂さんやるな。これは我々も本気を出さないと。ねえ。
本気のついでに展望も出してもらいましょうかね。私は眠いんで。
Alright, I appreciate it. Yes, let's go, Akasaka. End this hell. Akasaka-kun? This is somehow unreal. Before I could realize that there was an ominous cold air emitting from beneath Akasaka-kun's feet. Electricity! Electricity!
マンズのリャンウーパーが笑ってませんか？
くしょう坊主てめえ
クラウド
I love the suit, by the way. Very classy.
坊主の親とっととおろすだ。
悔しいですが、どうやらそうした方が賢明なようですね。
出たローだ太陽ドライチ
すみませんね。どうもピンフ。
頭っぱねだ小僧のくせに
I don't understand any of the rules for Mahjong, so I'm just kind of going along for the ride.
小僧が相手だとバカじゃあんた。その小僧以下ってわけです。
So cold, but I respect it.
面白いな。あんたら連中は決まって小僧だ坊主だって言うよ。
あ、赤坂くん、赤坂くんですよね。
Yeah, maybe.
ムードが変わりまくりなんですが、ね。
Oh no, am I possessed by the weird thing now?
私をかもって今晩はいいお酒を飲むおつもりだったんでしょうが、どうやら皆さんの当ては外れそうです。単品3色赤1ドラ1。
He's okay. I don't know if this is entirely strategy based or if there's a lot of if it's like poker, but like, bruh, triple straight. Come on.
張ってやがったか
だからあんたぬるいよ。
It's probably easier to beat people when they're like completely drunk.
いくらダマだからって
Which Uisi definitely is.
こんなにぬるい三面なんだから読んでくれなくっちゃ。
I'm just like, wow, you guys suck at this game when I don't even know the rules. Akasaka-kun chuckled as he rested his chin in his hands. That pose was so fitting, it was almost scary.
おいクラウド
Oh no, why are we in the bathroom?
話がちげえぞ。初々しいカモがネギ背負ってきたって言ったのは誰だ。
いや誰でしょう。
おいさまずいよ
I have so much gambling debt now.
このままじゃ負けるよマジで
Akasaka-kun, for you to make me get serious. Looks like you really want to be milked dry.
ポンポン。暇がいいですね。もう一回ポン。
Okay, Akasaka just shot up in the cool ranks. Akasaka-kun was almost singing at this point. The tiles that he had open were all pin tiles. You can't be serious. Are you really going for the flush?
坊主正気か4つも晒したらおめっぱいが1つだけじゃねえかよ。
そうですね。知ってます？短期待ちって一番読まれにくいらしいですよ。
バカかてめえ。そこまで染めて晒しといて今更出ると思うんじゃね
え。読めてますよ赤坂さん。それ均一でも本一でもないんでしょう。
Oh, what are we doing?
4つポンした時点でトイトイは成立してますからね。あんた今絶好の単独トップ。こいつは均一と見せかけてトイトイで食おうという挑発手でしょう。
そう思うならピンズ切ってみます？
Yeah.
大石さんの牌の左5つ、さっきから切り損ねてるピンズですよね。それを端から順に切ってみたらいいんじゃないですか？
You must be joking. Is he a Mahjong god? If not, he had to be the main character of a manga or something. Well, funny you should say that. At that moment, the old man sent me a sign under the table. The message was simple and clear.
クラウドやれ叩き潰せ。
こんな若い子に様は好きじゃないんですがね。
They're gonna cheat. I was telling us that we should cheat, but now he's gonna cheat.
あうここまで舐められて今さら引けるか。
What was that word for idiot? Ah! Wait, can I repeat that?
あうあうあうここまで舐められる。
知りませんよ。
That was a funny word.
ではどうぞ。
Oh, if you cheat, then you owe me additional money.
行くぞ坊主。 リーチだ。オープンで行くぞ。ピンズの一数値待ちだ。
Oh, now they're just, like, flat out teaming up. Most likely, the tile that Akasaka-kun was waiting for was one of those tiles. With this, Akasaka-kun was no longer capable of winning the hand. When I drew from the wall, I switched out the tile that Akasaka-kun would draw. The tile that I put was the 1 pin. One of the tiles that the old man was waiting on. Akasaka-kun discarded it a little while ago, so there was no threat of it being the one he needed.
おい、坊主の番だぜ。
I knew he was troubled that the tile he drew was the 1 pin. Of course, he couldn't discard it.
坊主、分かってると思うが、オープンリーチに振り込んだら100万払いだぜ。
言われるまでもありませんよ。
That tile came from Akasaka-kun's hand was an honor tile. Whew! Ain't that something? There's only one North Wind tile left, isn't there? You were counting on a really rough wait, weren't you? But with this, Akasaka-kun's fate was decided.
カズ、命拾いしたな。だが、手配は1名だ。逃げきれなくなることもあるんじゃねえのか？
やっぱりそういうことか。
Akasaka-kun glared at the old man with a discerning eye. This guy had pretty good instincts. Did he figure out that we were cheating?
やめましょうよ、やっさん。赤坂君の。
I'm always 2 steps ahead.
バル、ここまで来てやめられるかよ。次行け、使わせちまえ。
The next tile Akasaka-kun would draw was the 7 pin. With that, it would be settled. No matter which one he discarded, he'd play right into the old man's hand. An unavoidable full payout! When I drew my tile, I sneakily swapped Akasaka-san's. Crash! What? Akasaka-kun suddenly sneezed, collapsing the wall of tiles in front of him!
おいおい、何やってんだ。
You can't sneeze! That's illegal!
すみません。ついくしゃみをした拍子に山を崩しちゃって。
Oh, real smooth, Shrek!
バップ払いですね。親だから4000オールですか？それとも、バップは積み棒に？
Let's go! Uishi's like, man, I can't even be mad at the kid. He's just good. Unable to hold back, I guffawed. Akasaka-kun, knowing that he was going to be cornered a second time and unable to escape, he took the drastic measure of knocking over his own wall.
やるな、坊主。100万払いをそういう手で防ぐとはな。
Did they just openly admit to cheating?
大石さんも、そんな見え見えの積み込みは勘弁してください。これが馬場なら、今ので卓をひっくり返してたところですよ。
いえいえいえいえいえいえ。
I would say that that's an automatic forfeit from your guys' side.
あなたを侮っていましたよ。あなたどうしてお強いじゃないですか。
正直に話さんか。
That's to be this bad man.
若い頃はだいぶ慣らしたんだろ。
早稲田高田の馬場あたりでだいぶ遊ばせてもらいました。
Oh, he likes Mahjong.
ちょっと勝ちまくりすぎて。
That's how you know you made it as a gamer. You got banned for winning too much.
今の家内にだいぶ怒られて足を洗ったんです。
勝ちまくりすぎて？あんた当時はどのくらいの勝率でやってたの？
Please tell me he's like, if I beat her, then she had to marry me.
メンツにもよりましたが、歌舞伎町あたりで打つときはほぼ負けなしでした。特に相手があれ系の人のときは命かかってましたからね。
Well, 20 times? What kind of stakes were those? Did you have a Yakuza at your table? Or pro baseball players? Yeah, they're just as bad as Yakuza.
なんだなんだ。クラウド、このタク。お前どっからこんなプロ雀士みたいなのがってきたんだ。
Yes, let's go. We smoked them.
やめだやめ。ああもう坊主、おめえの勝ちだ。降参降参。
Yeah, you do.
ありがとうございます。光栄です。
いやいや。しかし赤坂さん、あんた打つと性格変わるね。なんで就職なんかしたの？あんたならフリーで十分に飯食っていけるじゃない。
Well, his wife wanted him to stop.
プロ雀士には腕と突きの両方が必要なんですよ。
Okay, so it is like poker.
私には後者がありませんでしたから。
好きなんてその時の運不運だろ。あんたほどの腕があれば十分にいけると思うがな。
波の尽きちゃダメなんですよ。缶したら3回に1回くらいはそのままカンドラが4つ乗ってここぞという時に狙ってリンシャンが引ける。そのくらいじゃないと。
赤坂君、そんなのが頻繁にできたら。
Again, I don't know any of the rules for Mahjong, so I don't know what they're talking about.
い
But
え、イカ様でも超能力でもなく、そのくらいの打ち手は結構いるんですよ。新宿で知り合った泣くたびにドラが乗りまくるジャージなんか鬼のように強かったですし、横浜で打ったプロなんかは当たり前のように一発で引き当ててましたからね。私にはああいう月がないんです。
what type of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance.
というわけで総合トップは私でよろしいですね。
へいへいへい。
Yes! Tell me the info!
乾杯でございますよ。
負けた負けた。久しぶりに大負けだ。
Oh, too bad!
しかし打ってる時の坊主気合入ってたな。結構怖かったぜ。
よく言われます。自分ではそんなに目つき変えてるつもりはないんです
It just
が、ね、
happens.
そんなに怖い目になってましたか？
Ruby Roo! The three of us nodded emphatically in agreement. So that was Akasaka-kun, the Mahjong prodigy. Before he goes home from his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at a high-stakes table in my place. But it's not good to get greedy.
じゃあ仕方ないや。約束です。夜の学習会はこれでお開きにしましょう。申し訳ありませんね、おやっさん。今夜はこれでお開き。
Nah, he owes me information.
しゃあねえな。消えて寝るわ。体力つけんと体が持たん。
お仕事が大変なんですか？
ああ、おやっさんはひなみ沢ダムの大工の監督さん。
Oh, he's the guy who's gonna die.
住民とは連日小競り合いをしてますからね。
Oh, so one of his last memories is gonna be getting his butt kicked by a kid in Mahjong. Let's go.
しんどい商売ですよ。
Yeah.
来年あたり第二校区も任されちまうかもしれねえな。黒田さん、血圧上がりまくりって聞いたしよ。身が持たねえや。
おやっさんなら大丈夫でしょう。あなた、見た目よりも面の皮。
Oh, dramatic irony.
俺だって仏じゃねえからな。腹渡にくり返るときあるぞ。特にその先のあの小娘は我慢がならん。
I bet Mion's not very fun to be around, despite being a little kid. She's probably just as vicious as the others.
あいつの顔面、いつか簡単には治らんくらいに歪ませたろって思ってる。
Oh, that's not gonna end well.
まあまあまあ。でも給料はいいんでしょ？かなり破格の給金だって聞きましたよ。
おっとりめえだ。あんなに世知辛い職場で給料が安かったら誰も
Is
残
that
ら
why
ない。
Oishi is so into this curse vein? Perhaps, maybe.
あ、クラウド。警察はいつになったら村の人間全部追っ払ってくれるんだ。国から立ち退き命令とか出てるんだろ？
Maybe. I don't really know.
どうなってるんでしょう
I'm
ね。
too busy thinking about Hooters all the time. The old man, who identified himself as the foreman of the Hinamizawa Dam, spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, then left quietly.
じゃあ行きましょう。
I don't know if they're best friends, they're more just Mahjong pals.
あとは佐藤さんに任せますかね。
大石さんは帰られるんですか？
私が一緒でもお邪魔しちゃうだけでしょ。それに佐藤さんの仕事を買ったのはあなたです。
True. It says I beat you at Mahjong, you don't get to pay off your gambling debts. I get to keep that money.
私は対価を払ってませんからね。
Uishi-san was kind of sketchy. Yes, kind of! But he was strangely conscientious about some things. I felt quite a bit of a gap between myself and Uishi's generation from that part of him I didn't comprehend.
じゃあ坊主、いやジャンシ様にもう坊主なんて言えねえな。
Call me Akasaka.
赤坂くんでよかったっけ？
はい。
じゃあ赤坂くん行こうか。
Alright, let's go to the sketchiest dark alley
では
and
赤
talk
坂さん、
about veins.
また何か困ったことがあったらいつでも頼りに来てくださいね。
I don't think I can.
大石さんにお支払いできるような対価はもう持ってません
You
よ。
took all my money! I don't have money for lunch now.
今度の勝負で少し手加減してもらえたらチャラにしますよ。
Maybe, DX, maybe. Uisi, seemingly still not having had his fill of playing around, but without overstaying his welcome, disappeared into the night. Are we gonna get a sprite on Sato or not? I feel like he's an important character if he's the informant, but maybe not. Okay, it's not a chapter end, it's the intermission. Well, I think we'll try to stream until the next, like, we get tips place, and then we'll probably stop. The informant, named Sato-san, had me get into his car before he set off. He favored narrow roads and made numerous short left turns.
左折法による尾行確認ですか？
詳しいな。
Checking to see if we were being tailed by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you were being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway was better than not.
赤坂君が何者かは旦那から何も聞いてないんだが、やっぱり警察関係かい？尾行確認に詳しいなんて、あとは探偵者くらいしか思いつかねえね。
言わなければならないものでないなら拒否したい質問ですね。
やれやれ。麻雀やってからすっかり雰囲気が大人びちまったな。会った時のあのおどおどしたあんたはどこ行っちゃったんだよ。
Because you guys stopped talking about going to strip clubs and stuff, that's why. I smiled wryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful for being made to play mahjong. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato-san, confirming that there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides the lights outside. The only things I were able to hear were the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs.
旦那からひなみ沢村については多少のことは聞いてんだろ？
御三家という旧家による支配や、現在は園崎家が一党独裁をしているとか、そういう。
そこまで知ってるならくだらない前置きは省略していいな。
Thank you. No need to retread old ground.
ではお願いします。犬飼大臣の孫の誘拐に鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が関与しているか否か。
Oh, he's just openly saying that happened. Sato-san checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anyone behind us before speaking.
昨夜園崎本家で親族会議が開かれたそうだ。親族会議ってのは旦那から聞いてるか？
Actually, if we change up the music. Oh, these are all pretty good songs. I'll go with this. I think this one is the most interesting.
いえ。
普通に親族会議って言ったらまあ親戚が集まってお茶でも飲むようなもんだよな。
Okay.
だが園崎本家の親族会議っていうのは
Hey, we just kidnapped this kid. What are we doing with him? A family council held by the Sonozaki main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly controlled Hinamizawa village. They wouldn't be talking about private family matters. It would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the dam project. Among other things, everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. Oh, there she is! At the head of the meeting was Oryo Sonozaki. No, I don't want to change the censorship levels. I want to change the sprites. More or less called Empress Sonozaki, as the ultimate decision-maker of the clan, she was to be feared and respected. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of the village. It seemed that lately she had grown weak, and on days when she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Family councils that occurred while she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. In the middle of a dignified Japanese-style room, still in a futon, only the upper half of her body sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oryo Sonozaki. Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion Sonozaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was merely to sit beside Oryo Sonozaki, sometimes responding to her requests. However, she was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryo. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of the Sonozaki's leader. And also on either side of her sat several other important members of the remaining three families, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furude family. First on the list for the Kimiyoshi family was, of course, the mayor of Hinamizawa village, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. And lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite to them sat the other of the three families, the Furude family. Show me Rika's parents! The Furude family was only comprised of the family of a Shinto priest, so the only ones sitting there were said priest, his wife, and their daughter Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and it seemed that Oryo was no exception. While the stress from just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days, it seemed like Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid it no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Orio's futon like it was a kotatsu. All this was the three families. And all around the room, lined row upon row, were relatives of the Sonozaki family. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were direct relatives. The others were left to sit in the seiza position directly on the tatami mats. With Empress Sonozaki enshrined at their center, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonozaki family was overwhelming. The fact that the Sonozaki family held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power was held in the three families as clear as day. The number of members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa.
その会議で何が話されたんですか?
Sato-san, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak.
マスコミ関係に支払ってる謝礼金の額が大きいんじゃないかい?
You could never overpay the media to get good coverage, right? Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi family, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. The Onigafuchi Guardians wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of the Hinamizawa Dam project, with no reliable source of income. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds for donations, but as the conflict dragged on, that amount was steadily declining.
石を投げるだけが全ての時代じゃないさ。マスコミの力も侮れないのは重々承知しているし、今後もその力を借りたいのは同じ
The
さ。
media is extremely powerful. The expressions of the people related to the Sonozaki family were sullen, as the one who suggested that they should borrow that power was the family head, Oryo Sonozaki. The battle wasn't just about a force of arms. In this civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Oryo suggested that, creating a strategy incorporating the mass media. Orio's foresight was spot on, and the effects of that plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation at the construction site was meant to delay progress on the dam by even 1 day, then the propaganda war using the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first, there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there was nobody now who called those results into question. But in order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. But, with the conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. The head of the Sonozaki family, no, the one who sat at the pinnacle of the Hinamizawa's three families, Oryo, had suggested the idea herself, so it was already untouchable, and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged that it should be so allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with the mass media.
どうも、お嬢さん。
The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Sonozaki household herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oryo, with a hard-to-define expression on her face, as if she had severed herself from the fetters of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was listening quietly or didn't even have the intention of listening at all.
去年機関士の値上げの理解を得るのにも随分苦労したじゃない。一度だけってことで理解を得て、また今年もってわけにはいかないよ。ねえ、古手さん。
The mayor looked to the priest and his wife from the Furude family for affirmation. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response. The priest doesn't even have an expression because he doesn't exist. But his wife gave her answer without a second thought.
そうですね。機関士代は特に貧しい家には大きな負担になっています。
Rika's mom sounds like every single, visual novel mom ever.
みんな自分たちの村のためだからと耐えていますが、これ以上の値上げはやめた方がいいでしょうね。
She sounds like Keiichi's mom. She sounds like Yumiko's mom. She sounds like, I think, Sachi's mom. It's like it's just all moms voiced by one person. The bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onikafuji Guardians. It outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve, but you couldn't deny the contents were rather piecemeal. That bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but rather was something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it had become something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said that this was one of the main sources of income for the Onikafuji Guardians. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinamizawa it had silently become the opposite. In the neighboring towns as well, it seemed that many businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. The priest whispered to his wife not to say anything unnecessary, but that was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. Oh, he seems kind of like a himbo, huh? The priest's wife always held the power in their relationship. Oh, forever. That was because she was the one who carried the Furude bloodline. Oh, is that so? The priest merely married into the family. He was nothing more than somebody who adopted the name just to join the free families. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he still had not gained any favor. Oh, that's it. Casting a backwards glance at her rather disparate parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signaled by a look from Oreo, Mion brought the ear closer to her grandmother. There, something was said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple of questions, and with a nod from Oreo, Mion looked around the room and conveyed her grandmother's words.
機関士の値上げもやむを得ません。
Kimiyoshi made a face like he had just bit into something unpleasant, but that expression quickly disappeared like it had never happened at all.
だけどミオンちゃん、君だって分かってると思うけど、機関士の負担は決して軽いものじゃない。南沢のすべての人間にかかる重みなんだ。
It's true.
あんまり負担をかけすぎれば内部から崩れることだって。
He seems like a decent guy.
内部から崩れるのは誰ですか？
どれって別にそういう意味じゃ。
Alright, Mion.
最初に崩れるのは誰かと聞いています。
Probably the first person who couldn't afford it. Being cross-examined by a girl who still had fragments of childishness remaining within her, the words stuck in Kimiyoshi's throat as he sunk into silence. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained from making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. The words she had spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oreo. That's why when Mion spoke them, they carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oreo's, they had a hawkish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. Good night, DX. Thanks for joining, and have a great sleep. I will not be continuing the stream for very much longer, until we get to the next to be continued. But that gaze was without question one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oreo, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise for even a minute. That's why nobody even thought of Mion as just being some sort of little kid.
君吉さん、機関士の値上げごときでは誰の決意も崩れませんよ。
Kimiyoshi, while grumbling a little bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection.
マスコミ関係への出費は継続とします。その出費がさらに圧迫となるようなら、機関士の値上げもやむを得ない。
Mion had rendered her judgment. Everybody bowed their heads, silently listening to her words.
園崎家当主代行、園崎ミオンです。我が名において以上決定し、決定の効力は即日発行されるものとします。異議はこれを認めず、抵抗ある場合は実力をもって排除します。
Jeez. The formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There would be no retrial, but there was a certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was a judge, she would have banged her gavel, signaling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell.
なんと
This
も
is sounding more like a cult.
大時代的な親族会議ですね。
あんたみたいな若いもんにはちょっと信じられないだろうけどね。こういう古い土地にはこんなのが未だ根強く残ってるもんさ。
It was exactly as Uesugi had said. The old system of the three families had vanished, and now the Sonozaki family was running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic.
会議はそれで終わりですか？
いや、まだ続く。先を続けるよ。
Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. Within all of that, a lone man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of the gang that her father was the leader of. Oh, that's right, isn't her dad the Yakuza? That organization had the entire area of Shishibone under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, this was talking about the criminal underworld. Yeah, so it's not just like anybody would know. But just showing a patch with the gang symbol on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighborhood. Mion's biological father, Oryo, was her daughter's husband. The power of that man's gain was the driving force that controlled the dark underbelly of the Onikafuchi Guardians. And so that man, from his position as the next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Yeah, so this is why her dad's Yakuza. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Was it okay for her to tell what she had just been heard directly to Oryo? It looked like she was asking him that question. Her father gently but firmly nodded in his response. Mion also nodded, then sidled up to Oryo and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message, separated herself from Oryo, and fixed her posture, waiting for Oryo to signal her response. It wasn't often that Oryo showed any emotion. That's why, when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everybody in the room.
そら、難儀なこともあったものよの。
Oryo was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask,
どうしたんだい、お嬢さん。
我らにとって土地が母なら、この度のダムの騒ぎは、母の命を脅かされる騒ぎっちゅうことだろうな。
Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oryo, with a wide grin on her face, turned towards everybody and addressed them in a clarion voice.
ダムの親玉の大臣がの、孫さらわれちまって、右往左往しとるっちゅう話だ。
It's an interesting way of, revealing that.
これでおあいこだの。
バカな。
Information on the kidnapping of Minister Inkari's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even we didn't know about the kidnapping incident. Exactly how did an antiquated household so far away from Tokyo come to know of it? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about Hinamizawa Village. At some point, I had mentally filed this place away as unrelated to the incident at hand. That mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind.
どうして鬼ヶ淵主導名が知っているんだ。
Sato-san, unable to come up with an answer, fell into silence.
すみません。続きをお願いします。
なあ。
犬飼建設大臣のお孫さんがさらわれた。お嬢さん、それは本当かい？
The mayor of an incident was nowhere to be seen in the newspapers or on TV. But in Hinamizawa, there was nothing strange about Oryo knowing about something that the rest of the world didn't.
我らの痛みは母を失う痛みじゃの。それに値するとは思わんが、孫を失う痛み。少しは答えるといいんだがの。
Okay, so that's pretty much a confession.
なあ。
The last question wasn't addressed to anybody in particular. It was as if she was looking for consensus.
だが、 土地と人様の子供ではわけが違う。
True.
隠すのは構わんが怪我だけは
Okay, yep, so they are behind it.
ここには何の罪もね。
Well, that's surprisingly decent of you, Oreo.
大事にしたれな。
それはつまり鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が
They
誘
were...
拐事件に関与している。
必ずしもそうとは言えないな。
Sounds pretty much like a confession.
どうして当主であるお涼がこれほどまではっきりと誘拐した孫の処遇について指示を出しているのに。
兄さん、これはね、園崎家のいつものことなんだよ。
They always kidnap kids!
いつものこと？それはどういう意味です？
Let's say there was a particular problem. One that wasn't exactly favorable for the Sonozaki family. If Oreo shows concern over that particular problem, hearing that, somebody who attended the family council would be helpful. As a result, Oreo's wish would be granted. However, neither Oreo or anybody else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events, even though they had their hands laid out on the table.
では親族会議に出
That
席
still
してい
means
た
that
誰か
somebody
が
part
犯
of
人と
the
いうことですか？
Guardians is responsible.
あるいはそもそも犯人なんかいない可能性だってあるよな。俺自身、その万座の一同の中に誘拐犯がいるって確
No,
信を
but
持
the
ってる
kid,
わけじゃない。
the kid is kidnapped and being held there, so clearly somebody was involved with that.
ただ、自分の意見を述べただけさ。
It was an odd and unpleasantly secretive way of doing things. Were they involved or weren't they? I couldn't see beyond the veil. This much, however, I could say with certainty. This kidnapping was an ironclad secret. No matter how high a position somebody was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who would know about it, they would be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself. Including the minister, there would be people affected by the incident. Or the people that committed it. In any case, there was no way an old household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. True. Oh. Yeah, there we go. That's the good one. Them knowing at all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow.
孫の誘拐についてお涼が述べたのはここまでだ。あんたの知りたかったことが含まれてりゃいいんだがな。あとは兄ちゃんの仕事だな。何のお仕事やってるか知らんけど、園崎家を相手にするなら相当の覚悟でやっとけよ。大石の旦那は怖いもの知らずだけどな。あれでも 2,3 回は襲われてる。最近は来てないけど、一時はオフの時も防塵ベストを着込んでたんだ。
Yikes!
ええ、忠告ありがとうございます。気をつけることにします。
標準語が流暢。
Oh man, the good music cut out before it got good.
兄さんは東京とかの人？
え？それが何か？
Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on myself.
兄さんのお仕事だけどさ、ひょっとして警視庁の公安部の人ってことある？
That's none of your business. I couldn't remain silent here. It would be the same thing as admitting it.
え？まさか。
こっから旦那からもらった金の範囲には入らないんだが、兄さんとは今日宅を囲んだ仲間だからな。サービスってことで話してやるよ。お涼から誘拐の話が出た後、もう一つ話題が出たんだ。
Ooh, do tell. Another topic that Oreo brought up. And right before he told me this, Sato-san asked if I was from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those two things meant caused a chill to run up my spine.
そんでな、大臣の孫さらったのを調べるために東京からはるばる公安の捜査官が派遣されてくるっちゅう話だ。
公安の捜査官？
大臣の孫の誘拐な、うかつにゃ大ごとにできゃんってことで警視庁の公安部が 独自で調べとるっちゅう話だ。
Hmm.
はっ、大行なこったの。お？どうした？
Rika, who had been drawing the entire time and was completely uninterested in the conversation up until now, looked at Oreo with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up.
警視庁が来たのですか？
リカちゃまは警視庁も知ってなさるんかい。偉いの。
Oh, I see.
誰が来たのですか？
公安のどんな奴が来よったんか。誰ぞわかる奴はおらんかいな。
It's probably the weird guy in the mask with the fake mustache. Mion's father raised his hand slightly.
新米の若造が一人と聞き及んでおります。
How would you know this?
新米？ほかほかなのですか？
うん？
Mion's dad sounds scary.
ええ、はい。新米とか。
Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika's question.
ほかほかのふかふか？
ええ。
ほかほかのふかふか？
Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? That was a question that apparently nobody had the answer to.
リカちゃまはその男のこと何か知っているのかな？
知んないのですよ。
There's that serious face again. She knows something. After her rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Oreo's futon again. But when she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again. Instead, she was making an expression like she was deep in contemplation.
どうしますか、お母さん。
Mion's father posed the question. He had the type of uncouth expression on his face indicating that, given the order, he could snuff the problem out at any time.
はるばるひなみざまで来よった。しばらくはのんびりさせてやるのもよかろ
う。泳がせろということでしょうか。
Mion's father asked in response. Oreo smiled thinly as she responded.
ほっといたれな。が、あんまりおいたが過ぎるようやった。そん時は遠慮せんとな。
Yikes.
なめられるのはすっきゃせんね。
なんて話があったそうだ。
How do you know this?
まさかあんたその警視庁の新米じゃないよな。
まさか。
The sensation of cold, bristling fear began to crawl its way up my back. I guess that actually would explain. Okay, that would explain if Rika was there and she took a liking to us, why she was like, go back to Tokyo, don't stay here, or you're going to get wiped out. It doesn't explain how Rika was able to speak 6 octaves deeper than she normally does, so still kind of weirded out by that. This family council took place last night. It did? Oh, that was the end of the day? Wait, then how would she know? Because yesterday we went to Hinamizawa. So this took place after we visited there for the day. Okay, so they weren't just leading me on, but she made the connection there. Oh, that guy was Akasaka. But that was after she gave us the warrant. This is weird. Then today, when I was dressed up as a tourist and headed towards Hinamizawa, my cover was already blown. Wait, I thought that happened yesterday. Hang on, I thought he went to the village, met the guy, went back, went to bed, got up at 9 in the morning, called the guy in, then waited till tonight to play Mahjong and stuff. No, this all happened in one day? Dang, this is a long day. My cover was already blown. When I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop, I couldn't breathe. The person at the family council who expressed interest in the man being dispatched from the Metropolitan Police, Rika Furude. And then the person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at that bus shelter, did Rika-chan already know my true identity? Did she know I was Akasaka, dispatched from the Metropolitan Police Department, and come to meet me? Then, including Mayor Kimiyoshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew but just pretended not to? Because Oreo had given instructions not to interfere? Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. If there's people that are good at acting, then there's people who are bad at hiding things. If there was that many people, then there should have been somebody among them who knew that I was from public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. But then, even still, why did Oreo tell them to leave me alone? Was it because they were careless about it? It would only raise more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Yeesh, Akasaka's a coward. I recalled that strange voice, which could only make me believe Rika-chan had been possessed. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. And then, how did it warn me again? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the Onikafuchi Guardians had discovered my identity, the absurd worry brought on by the unknown girl struck with me once more. What exactly was that girl? What was that thing that I would eventually regret? That mysterious girl, Rika Furude. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There was no mistaking that the possibility the Onikafuchi Guardians were related to this case was there. And that fact that my cover was blown meant that I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support. If they know that they're responsible, then they can divert other things and be like, okay, we don't need to keep investigating these other areas, though.
もういいかい？よければ好きなところまで送るよ。
あ、すみません。では、お会いした元の駅までお願いします。
A rural road where even a streetlight was rare. I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but the asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Or was there something lurking there waiting to strike? I think I had drew the short straw here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head. Oh, and here we are. Higurashi when they cry. Are we gonna get new tips? Yeah, investigation runs around. What's in the box? And the glint in the demon's eye. Let's go. Mahjong Prodigy showed off your skills. Well, we did more than that. Alright, we'll go for the tips, and then that'll be it. Investigation runs aground. Second one has blood in it. Let's go.
昨日銀座の料亭でお会いしてね。そういう話が出たんだよ。
別室の謁見でしょう。連中、公安に干渉しすぎですよ。あまり迎合すると悪い洗礼を残しますね。
犬飼大臣は公安の動きに不快感をあらわにしているらしい。多分月曜の町議で次官からその旨の話が出るんじゃないかと思う。参ったな。
次官へは局長級に話つけてもらうしかないですよ。給料を多くもらってる人の当然の仕事ってことで。
まあそうなると局長からは絶対に大臣脅迫の物証を求められるよ
な。あの人たまにどっちの味方か分かんなくなりますね。うちらの味方しなくてどうすんのっての。
まあ多分大臣を経由しての圧力だと思ってるけどね。俺が時間室で油汗かいて時間稼ぐ間に調査進めてもらうしかないよな。全身の汗絞られて絞りかすになっちゃうかもしれないけどな。でどうなの調査の進行は。
期待してた濃厚なラインがことごとく外れて正直途方に暮れてます。
最近の大臣発言をまとめるとひなみ沢ダムの計画の話が目立つっていう報告を聞いたけど、それはどうなの？
目立つっていうか本当に微細な程度の違和感ですね。たまたま県議連でのスピーチだったから時事ネタを話しただけかもしれないし。
確か地元団体が過激に抵抗してるってやつだっけ？鬼ヶ淵死守同盟。確か赤坂君に調べてもらってたよね。
僕は連中には今回の事件は起こせないと踏んでいます。ですが疑わしいところのほとんどが真っ白な以上疑いの枠から外すわけにはいかないかもですね。赤坂君からはその可能性は否定できないとの軽い報告は受けています。
なら調べてみる価値はあるんじゃないの？
しらみつぶしなんだから、残る疑わしい団体がそこ一つならやるしかないでしょ。
ま、調べる団体はそこだけじゃないんですがね。鬼ヶ淵と同じ程度のレベルで疑わしい団体になると、もう相当の数
How
になり
many
ますよ。
organized crime groups could there be?
人手も時間も残業代も全然足りません。
赤坂君からさ、もうちょっと詳しく聞いてみてよ。俺はちょっと要注意に感じるけどな。その
彼、村人とうまく接触できたって連絡してきました。現地の警察とも連携できてるみたいですね。
赤坂君との連絡密にしてください。それで彼からの情報が引っかかるようであれば、増援を送ることもありという
Oh,
こと
we
で。
definitely have stuff that merits investigation.
わかりました。
Cool. Let's go.
すいません、片岡市長。局長からお電話です。こっちに回しますか。
ああ、いい。そっち行きます。もしもし。
Oh, I bet that's them getting the call from him. What's in the box? What's in the box? Boop 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 boop. Do you believe that there are choices in life? There are many people who lament the following. If there only existed points in life where there were clear choices to make, we would be able to scrutinize those carefully and make decisions that would lead us to a better future. Every time I hear people lament as such, I cast it off in as a rather trivial worry. Even if you were given a clear choice, it wouldn't be meaningful at all, and there wouldn't be any such path to a better future. Is this hard to understand? Then let's pretend that in front of you there are two strange boxes. In other words, you have two clear choices. Do you open the red box or the blue box? A lot of things would be uncertain even with that choice, wouldn't they? If you don't have the option of opening neither, then your choice boils down to the natural impulse of opening the box that holds the better result for you. Then after examining the shape and features of each and pondering a great many things, you'll have to pick either the red or the blue. If this was you, which box would you open? Red or blue? If you were to go by the traditional meanings, then red would be a dangerous, threatening color. However, that doesn't automatically mean that it would be calm and relaxing inside the blue box either. In fact, it might even be that the colors are a trap to make you wary of the red box and have you open the blue. A trap? Could it be that the contents of the box aren't a reward, but rather a penalty? See, now you're at a loss. You're so conflicted over the choice between red and blue that you've started wishing that there was an option to open neither and just leave. But there isn't. You have to open either the red box or the blue box. Oh, I forgot to say this, but if you choose one box, the other will disappear. So you'll never know the contents of the box you didn't open. I'll just put that rule at the end there for you. Now, why don't you choose the red box or the blue box? It's alright. You won't lose anything by picking either one. Come on now. Oh. Let's do a quick save, shall we? Uh-oh. It's not letting me save. I mean, if I have to choose... Okay, here's the thing. I'm going Kirby Air Ride rules. Blue boxes have stat boosters, but red boxes can have the legendary parts to Hydra and Dragoon. We're going red box. Have you thought about it? In the end, you chose this color, didn't you? As soon as you chose, the other box disappeared. So you can give up on the contents of that one, okay? That's the rule. Now open up the box you chose. Inside the box there was a piece of caramel. I know you're a little disappointed. Well, that's only natural. No matter how you look at it, it looks like you drew the dud. The correct box might have had a bar of chocolate in it for all you know. No, in fact, something incredible like a pair of tickets to Hawaii might have been in there. But even if you wanted to verify that, the upper box has already disappeared. There's no way you can check now. But if you think about it from an optimistic point of view, just maybe, the other box was empty and this box was the winner. After being satisfied, or perhaps not, with such a cheap prize, you pop it into your mouth and start chewing it happily. So what do you think in the end? If you were given a second chance, would you try to open the other box? But unfortunately, the chance to choose between the red box or the blue box has come and gone, never to be seen again. The chance to change your selection will never come. Don't your parents often say, every choice you make in life only happens once, so choose carefully? See, choices aren't that great after all. Aren't you a little disillusioned now? No, I'm not disillusioned. Caramel's great. I'm happy with that. Could have been worse. It could have been 1,000 rat corpses. The glint in the demon's eye. Alright, this is going to be an exciting last one, I think.
はい。それで、お通夜が明日の午後6時からになりまして、告別式があさってのお昼、12時から13時までになりまして、会場は沖宮セレモニーホールになります。
すっか。池澤助役のお孫さんの葬式じゃ。何にも挨拶なしってわけにもいかんね。
Uh-oh. That's not good.
みよ、代わりに出てえな。
うん、了解。喪服で行く？香典はいくらくらい？
学校の服でえんね。前のボタンちゃんと止めてくんねよ。香典は5万。
Wow, 100,000 yen, big spender. It's $1,000.
世話になったかな。
Mion quietly whistles in awe at the exorbitant amount of money her grandmother was offering.
池澤さんはな、沖宮の事務所長だった頃からしっかりした人だったね。
Ikezawa?
役人は挨拶って言
Hanako's
っても
dad.
絶対に玄関までしか来ん。でもな、池澤さんはわしがお茶を勧めるといっつも上がってくれて、ちゃんと話を聞いてくれた。人の話を最後まで聞く、本当に鏡みたいな人だったんね。
The two guests made a show of nodding, making it clear they were paying attention as Oreo reminisced. The sight of them trying not to get on Oreo's bad side was humorous enough to elicit laughter from Mion occasionally.
で、池澤助役のお孫さんはいくつで亡くなったんね。
11歳だそうで。
Oh no, the poor kid. Oreo closed her eyes and shook her head lightly, lamenting the loss of such a young life.
確か孫は一人だ言うてんな。かわいそうにな。親より先に死ぬほどの親不孝はあるんねな。
ばっちゃんも他人には優しいね。
Well, yes, but actually no.
私やシオンが死んだら同じように悲しんでくれる？
If you died, yeah.
アホん抜かすんでね。演技でもねすったなんと、シャラーあったく。
Well, Shion's alive in this timeline, alright. Having got the reaction she expected, Mion cackled. The two guests, unsure if they were supposed to laugh alone, instead forced awkward smiles.
それでは本日は失礼いたします。では明日の夕方5時にお迎えに参りますんで、よろしくお願いいたします。ではごめんくださいませ。
After bowing their heads repeatedly, the guests left by the front door. Mion saw them off, waving her little hand goodbye.
帰ったよ。お役人もばっちゃのご機嫌伺いに大変だね。不法なんか電話でいいと思うのにね。
Well, it was true that Oreo Sonozaki was a central person for both her relatives and the residents of Hinamizawa village as a whole. As a voting bloc, they numbered in the several thousands. It wasn't hard to imagine the mayor would try to pander to her. Unlike Mion, however, Oreo was looking up longingly at the sky from the veranda.
どうしたの？猛録した？
Wow, Mion!
誰のお孫さんであろうと気の毒だのう思ったんよ。
Saying that, she let out a deep sigh. Mion was let down, as normally her grandmother would have scolded her for her attitude.
みよ、俺、例の大臣の孫、さらわれてからどのくらいになる？
うん、4日かな。
Oreo let out another deep sigh.
旧敵の孫とはいえ、気の毒だな。
そう。
十分気はせいたんろ。そろそろ終わりにしちゃれな。
Yikes! Okay. The playful expression drained from Mion's face, leaving behind a stern one. And then, as if to ascertain Oreo's will, looked into her eyes. Oreo, expressing her intention with only those eyes, looked back into Mion's.
お茶が欲しいんで頼んでな。さっきのチョコレートも食べといね。
Mion gave a small nod, then turned around.
シミコさん、いますか？抹茶に紅茶入れてあげてください。
From far away, a voice responded in the affirmative. Mion, after confirming she'd been heard, picked up the phone and began dialing.
あ、もしもし？ミオンだけど。うん。うちのお父さん、います。
Well, that got real dark. Goodness me. Alright, well, that is all the time we have for today's stream, everybody. We finished 2 more chapters, which is pretty awesome. We probably only have a couple more left. I will most likely be streaming this on Friday at the usual 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Saturday, not Sunday, we'll be continuing Super Mario Galaxy 2. No Sunday stream, because that is Easter, and I don't stream on Easter. Thanks for joining in. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and God bless everybody.